So, to those of you tuning in, we are going to be commentating and watching the Sealed Masters tournament. This is the first of several events that Big N19 has designed. They are going to be running throughout the year, culminating in a Master finals there at the very end of the year, sometime in, I think, November. And yeah, it's just going to be a time for people to show off their sealed prowess. So once Big N joins us here on the screen, we're going to go take a look at some of the actual cards that these players will be opening, the packs that they'll be opening rather, and the cards that they'll be dealing with. So yeah, we're just in the final moments before it begins. 5 minutes left. People scrambling a little bit to get in. We've made it clear that it is starting at 1500. There will be no pauses because of the fact that it's a sealed event, and so if we pause it, then that will change. We'll basically have people with different amounts of time to look through their cards that they've drawn and construct their deck, which kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. Vertigo saying, I think that people can join during deck building time as well. They would just have less time to build the deck, and I think that might be correct. If that's the case, then less power to them, I guess. They'll have to wing it that much faster. But yeah, people are starting to settle in. The queue is still growing longer. This is quite a few people. If we hit 16, then I think that's when we go up to 5 rounds. Am I right on that? I'd have to look up the code. I don't have the code open at the moment. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people. So I should go ahead and open up the forum thread that goes over the format. We can talk about that. I can read through that a little bit here while we are waiting for things to get started. Where did that go? It's right here. Okay, so Big Baddies Sealed. This is an event that is going to be utilizing the King Block site path. And this is what they're going to be given. They will have one of 4 custom starter decks that were all designed and built by Big N19. And then there will be 9 booster packs, 1 from each set except for Reflections, all the way up through the first 10 sets. So each of these is geared around a particular big bad minion. So one of them is Gorbag's Command. Another is Gothmog's Conquering Starter, Sauron's Corruption, and Shelob's Web. So each of these are really based around having a solid construction for that particular big baddie. So we can see here that the Shelob's Web one, for instance, starts with 4x copies of Eater of Light, 2x copies of Web, so that you can stack a whole bunch of orcs on them and pump Shelob up to scary heights. Let's see, we've got the Sauron's Corruption, which includes Sauron himself. So yeah, 4x copies of the big man. And then it looks like you've got a bunch of Easterlings that are built around adding burdens, which of course makes Sauron cheaper to throw out. And then you've got Gothmog's Conquering, so that looks like, I believe this is going to be, yeah, site control based, with 4x copies of Gothmog, Lieutenant of Morgul, getting that classic Besieger site control archetype going. And then there is Gorbag's Command, and so this is Morgul Orcs, looks like. Classic Destroyer, Whelp, all that stuff. Okay, let's see here. How are things going? Okay. All right, so it looks like the kickoff period has begun. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people. Pretty close to that 16 barrier. And so now we are beginning. So they are going to have 25 minutes to build their deck and then 5 minutes to turn their deck in and register. So all of the people who are participating have had access to these deck lists so that they can look at them, inspect them, and try to figure out what they're going to do. But then, of course, what ends up happening is they need to actually construct the deck. So, oh, is that Begin hopping on?
Yeah, I'm here now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Awesome.
Perfect.
So this is
Nice.
Big Ed 19, everybody. He is the Sealed Dark Lord, as they call him, the one who has been constructing all of these wonderful events for us. So actually, why don't you walk us through the big baddies? I've kind of
Sure.
stumbled my way through an explanation, but in fact, here on the playtest server, I even have just a quick league set up so that we can open it up and look at it if you
Yeah.
want.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. So, yeah, players get to open up a booster pack from sets 1 through 10, one of each, with the exclusion of reflections. And then once they've opened up their packs, they can decide which of 4 starter decks that they want to use for the tournament. And they combine the cards in the starter deck with the cards from the packs that they opened. And they'll have half an hour to make the best deck that they possibly can. And then after that, they play the games, and we see who qualifies for the Sealed Masters final.
Right on. I hear that you went with the Shelob's Web deck at one of the recent leagues and swept it with a 10-0, 10-0 record. What are your
Yeah, I
thoughts
was.
on the different like decks?
So I think the Shelob one is the third best in my opinion. I think the Gothmog is probably the best. It's pretty close between Gothmog and Gorbag. But I think if I had to pick one, I would put Gothmog just above it. Shelob is third, but I don't think the gap is too big between the decks at the top and Shelob. I think if you play it the right way, you can still beat any of the decks with Shelob. And then a distant fourth is the Sauron deck. I think, as a lot of people found out in the league that we ran last month, it's just hard to play Sauron in sealed because you just don't get the Twilight that you need for him a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so I might in the future try to revise this a little bit and maybe add in some Ithel stones or something like that to make his cost a little bit less and make it a little bit more competitive than it was during the tournament.
Right on. So let's
But
go
yeah, I
ahead
think
and oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You're good.
I was going to say let's kind of go through and simulate actually what these people are going to be doing. So like I mentioned, I've got this up on the playtest server, so this is separate from what everybody is currently doing live, but it's approximately what they. Oh, that's not good. Approximately what they should be doing right now. So first of all, of course, they can go in and just open each of the booster packs from each of the sets, and as they do so, it will plop all of those 11 cards into their little collection that they can use. Since there's no actual booster pack choices, it doesn't really matter what order you do this in. So you can just open all 10 of them and then inspect and see what exactly do you have access to. And then at that point, I assume that's where you actually want to start looking at what starters are there based on what you happened to open. But I don't know. You're the sealed master. You talk us through this.
Yeah, normally I would open up all my packs first, and then I usually go culture by culture when I'm building to see sort of what I have. So yeah, I'd check the dwarf cards. I'd click on any dwarf cards that I'm actually interested in, maybe like Endurance of Dwarves, Bracers, Roar, um, and then so there's not a whole lot of dwarfs that was useful there that we got. I guess I can't see with everything here, but I think there's a hand axe in there too.
Hmm.
That would count too. So I'd go through all the cultures like that. what looks the strongest culture-wise, and what might combine well with any of the 4 decks. I think, in particular for the Shelob deck, it comes with 2 copies of Web, and I think if you open a 3rd copy of Web, it's almost always correct to play that deck because Shelob can get so big so quickly with a 3rd copy. Um,
Looks like
Initially, when I was building these decks, I had 4 copies of Web in, and then, I looked at it and I was like, "Okay, you're gonna have 9 times 4 is strength 28 for Shelob, plus the base of 8 is what, 36?" I'm like, "No, that's too good." So I ended up cutting 2 copies of those sort of as a last-minute revision. Um, but yeah, I think if you have 3 copies, the ability for Shelob to overwhelm is it almost trumps any other build option. Um, but I think, yeah, generally, Gondor cards are there's good Gondor cards in a lot of these sets, so I think a lot of players end up pulling predominantly useful Gondor stuff like Flaming Brand, Aragorn, uh, all the wraiths are actually pretty good and sealed because they get big and you don't have to put possessions on them. Um, Actually, this combination of Dead Man of Dunharrow and whatever that I think it's End of Game or something, the one that's next
end
to
of
it.
the game. Yeah.
Yeah, End of Game. It's a nice little combo
Mm.
because if you can get a surprise damage +1 on somebody, it's a nice way to potentially set up a double move. So things like that often end up uh, making people want to play the Gondor and Gothmog deck, just because their polls point them in that direction. I think that's one of the things I try to be aware of when I'm building these decks is to put Gondor culture usually with a maybe slightly weaker shadow side or something that you're not going to pull as many cards for. Because it's really easy for people to pull Gondor cards in almost any league, and then you see a lot of people basing what deck they choose entirely off the quantity of cards that they get in certain cultures. So,
Mm.
you know, it's much harder to look at um, the Shelob deck, which is just Shire and Smeagol cards on the free people side. And then if you don't pull anything useful in those cultures, it's pretty hard to choose it. And we saw pretty low numbers for the Shelob deck being played in the tournament that took place last month. But
And
the
that
people
does
that
make a
played it
lot of sense
had good
actually,
results.
because Gollum wouldn't have even been released until set 5, and
Hmm.
so it's out of those 10 or those 9 booster packs that you're opening, it's only 4 of them that even have a chance of pulling Gollum. And here we can see
Right.
that, yeah, like in our little simulation here, we only pulled 2. So yeah, that definitely makes it difficult to.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that people see it's really easy to see the base power of a deck that has strong companions and strong events and strong possessions. So it's easy to look at Rohan or Gondor and say, oh, these ones are really strong on the free people side. It's a lot harder to look at the Shelob deck and see that it's more of a choke fellowship. So you're only going to have to deal with a few minions, and it has a few tricks in order to allow you to double, but you have to play them very carefully. So it's more of a deck that you have to be aware of every card that you play
Mm-hmm.
and play it really, really precisely in order to be successful with it. But it certainly has just as much ability to win with the free peoples as any of the other decks do.
Right on. So it based on what, oh, and we haven't gone through here terribly carefully, but just based on some of the vibes of what you've seen here in the open window, what what would be your thoughts as to which deck you would pick with this particular set of opening?
Let's take a look at Rohan. I just want to see what's in there. Not a lot. Okay. The condition that one over here, yeah. We left none alive. That one's pretty good, but I think there's a lot of minions that have 3 vitality, so it's not elite in this format. And then check over on the Sauron cards as well.
Okay, quite a
Uh,
few here. That's a wisp.
yeah. So there's some okay stuff. I think this is probably leaning towards doing the Gothmog, Sauron, and Gondor deck. Maybe also check the Nazgul Ringwraith culture and see if anything. Yeah, it's pretty thin. Although not bad cards. Those are interesting. sometimes it really just takes one, rare or really good uncommon that can point you in the right direction. Um, Off the top of my head, I can't remember if any of the cards in the Goth or the Gorbag deck need initiative, because if they do, then that condition is actually quite interesting. Uh, no, I don't think they do. I think most of it's just stuff that uses wounds on the ring bear. So yeah, so nothing really amazing in the polls that are going to help you for this deck. So yeah, I'd probably lean towards the Gondor and the Gothmog deck. Oh, there's my terrible art on all those.
Hey, I mean, it gets the point across, right? So
Yeah, at least everyone can see what they're getting. But I like how some of the lines for the text aren't even at the same level. You
got to
can
start
tell
with a
that,
template and then fill it in.
yeah, I spend a lot more time building the decks than I do creating the art for them. That's for
And
sure.
I think people appreciate that a little more than how pretty it is for the 1 second that it will be up before you click on it.
I had a lot of people though say that the art that you did for the oh, what was it called? Like the ring bearer choice for the current league was really good. Where you had the three pictures of alternate ring bearers.
All right, yeah. What was the? Let's see. What was called a ring bearer pack? Was that what it was?
I think so, something like that.
And whatever. We can try to find that later. But
Yeah, it was great though. It looks nice, especially in comparison to the the crap that I produce.
well, I like to fill in where I can.
Hey,
Let's
you
see.
you do everything for us, so it's amazing. I'm just happy that we have your support for all this stuff. Because without all the stuff that you do, I just have ideas. Like I had a bunch of these ideas for years and years, and we weren't, nothing was really being updated on GEMP for a long time, and they were just ideas that I had written down in my phone and had them saved in a note. And then eventually, the Players Council started, and I started. I was pretty shy when I first started. Actually, I felt. I don't have any knowledge of coding or really game design. I've played the game a lot, obviously, but I didn't have any knowledge of any other areas. So I was a bit unaware of whether I could actually contribute or not. But then, I've kind of found my niche with the sealed stuff, and with the help of you and some other people who play test with me and things like that, it's come together pretty well, and I'm happy to have these leagues running. I think they're usually pretty fun and enjoyed by the community. So it's great that we have the ability to keep updating and providing new things like this.
It's a match made in heaven then, because I can't do any of the deck building or design or anything like this to save my life. Like I am, yeah. So I'm glad that we do have people like you that are willing to step up and actually design that stuff, because it enters the wheelhouse where I am unable to do anything. So you do your part, I'll do mine, and we'll all get out of
Love
here
it.
well.
Yeah, I find I have a young son, and uh, people with kids, they know that they don't always sleep perfectly, and so on the nights where I'm trying to get him to go to sleep and he's having a hard time, I know I can't play a live game because I'll probably have to quit in the middle of it because he'll wake up and call for me, but I can still do deck design during those nights. So yeah, it works out pretty well.
Yeah, I remember that not very fondly at all with my own young kids. I'm glad that they are beyond the point of waking up in the at random hours. That was not fun.
No, the sleep deprivation's pretty real, but yeah. I gotta say though, I'm pretty happy with the turnout for this tournament. I
Yeah,
know I meant to advertise this a little more ahead of time, but sometimes life is busy and things slip through the cracks a little bit. So, but to get over 10 people is pretty good on the short notice that we had.
yeah, definitely. Hopefully, the fact that we are streaming this and we'll be uploading it to YouTube later will be a good motivating factor for people to hop in. When's the next time that we have one of these
2
scheduled?
months from now is the next tournament. Trying to remember what exact date. I
Oh,
think it's like June
we got the blog post here that I
21st. I
guess we're
want to guess. Oh yeah, it's in there.
telling everyone else.
I think
Let's
it's near the top somewhere. I put it in brackets in a really awkward spot, if I remember. There it is, April 26th, June 21, and then at the very top there.
yes.
Yeah.
So April 26th is the one happening today, and then June 21, so that'll be a couple months from now. So pretty much alternating, right? Where you've got a sealed league going on one month and then a sealed tournament the next month.
Well, I actually have a sealed league going on 8 straight months, and then there's just a tournament every second month, though.
I
So
got
that'll
you.
get
Okay.
that'll get the 12 people to qualify for the final event, and then that'll be a tournament itself at the end. I think it's in November.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm excited though. I think
Found that art you were talking about,
this.
the ring bearer selection.
Oh yeah, there it is. Like that's awesome. That's so good. I was sad that I didn't see anyone use the Smeagol ring bearer because I thought if like it's obviously very polls dependent for that league, and if you open some ringbound rangers, I thought it was very possible to build a really strong Smeagol deck as the ring bearer. But when you're opening a bunch of packs, there's almost always a safer option to go with than the janky Smeagol ring bearer.
Yeah. I think that, especially now that we've started to get our feet underneath us as far as designing these, new sealed concepts, I think it will probably make sense maybe at one point for us to look at constructing our own boosters that aren't necessarily tied to set. Like for
I
instance, if you
100%
had,
agree.
yeah, so like if we had boosters that were more balanced around what cultures are in them, or even if we just had boosters that were like, say, here's a Smeagol booster that's just going to have 11 cards, still with the same distribution of rarity, but now you know that this is going to come from a particular culture, or have like a culture selection where you can go in and say, all right, I want a booster that gives me nothing but stuff from this culture. Um, that would also work well for us to start incorporating like V1 and V2 cards. Um, into some of those, so that because obviously there's no boosters that contain any of our Players Council V sets.
Yeah, at some point I'd like to make a V2 sealed, similar to the V1 sealed that we made when that first came out. But yeah, we definitely have to do something with custom boosters. I know for the V1 set, I made it was kind of like a pseudo booster where you get 4 packs and you get a random common card from the set. So you end up with 4 commons, then you had 3 packs for the uncommons and 2 packs or something for the rares.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of pseudo ended up being like you got a pack, but it still doesn't have the same feel when you're just getting 1 card at a time like that.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do some work on that because there's nothing stopping us from designing our own packs. It's just that I think when that particular system was built, it was like, oh well, these are all the packs that currently exist. So why do we need this to be extended, right?
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't be too much trouble to extend that system a little bit so that now you can just go in and define them. Um,
Yeah, and I like the idea of the custom boosters as well, where I could include things like things from Hunter's Block are hard to use because a lot of the time I don't want to include hunters themselves in like the minions with the hunter keyword, I mean,
mhm.
in or companions for that matter, in the packs. So I could at least filter that out and still use some of the cards from those sets to create a non-hunters league with it. So because the hunter keyword is just so hard to have any balance with. So it's yeah, at least a custom pack could help avoid that problem.
Yeah,
I'm just going to answer a few questions in the chat here. All
yeah, I
sites,
was
yeah, they
just
have to be the same.
that's a good thing to do. We got 6 minutes left until players have to start turning in their decks, and then they will have a 5-minute window to get their decks completely turned in before the tournament will begin anew. Bot. Hang on. Let me see if I can remember how to. Gosh darn it! How do
Oh,
I?
sounds like some people weren't able to get in and they're not happy.
Yeah, somebody I think was expecting to be able to click the join button after 1500, not thinking that starting at 1500 means that that's when it stops. And it looks like
Right.
the intended interaction was that after that 1500 it should have been joinable, but looks like there's a bit of a bug. So well, we warned everybody.
Yeah, I did
So
I did try to say that it starts promptly and that's it, but I think I can certainly put a bit more instruction on how it works into the next tournament that we run here. I'll try to be a little more on top of getting the word out early and making it clear for everybody.
Well, and now that we see it, it's quite possible that me and Vertigo can get it so that it wouldn't be a problem for them to join. So
That's true.
because that is actually how it worked at the previous seal tournament that we did, I think. Because if you're going to join late, that's just less time that you have to construct your deck and really put thought into it. So the only person it hurts is yourself.
Yeah, and that feels a lot more accurate with how things are in real life too, where you show up a bit late to an event and they've already, but you jump in there and you use your 10 minutes or whatever you have to quickly do something.
Mm-hmm. Now, am I just not good at Twitch? I'm trying to delete this darn bot that's spamming crap and I'm not seeing spamming crap and I'm not seeing spamming crap. Oops. Gosh darn it. Well, you'd think that I could just right click on a message and say delete, but I guess that's not how it works.
How are people doing here? We got 3 people that have registered their deck already.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure they have another 4 minutes to build, and then there's 5 minutes still to register their deck, if I remember the settings that I set up with this thing.
Yep, I think that should be the default. The 25 to build, 5 to turn in, 30 total. Strictly speaking, there's not actually any difference between those two phases. It's just really kind of a nudge to people that, hey, yeah, you really should be turning it in by now if you haven't already. And I think the folks that are turning in their deck, I know that some people will turn it in early even if they're not necessarily 100% done, but then they can go in and make tweaks to it and save, and so long as they've saved the deck before it's all turned in, then it should be good. So how many people did we end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I think I mentioned before that I think that'll be 4 rounds. That doesn't hit.
Yeah, 3 or 4. I'm not sure.
I can't quite remember the formula off the top of my head. I know that the boundaries are at 2, 4, 8, and 16, but I don't really remember where the rounds.
Yeah, I think it's 4, right? Because if you have 2 players is 1 round, 4 would be 2, 8 would be 3, and then I think up to 16 is 4 rounds if my math is right.
And then if we'd had more than 16, then we would hit 5. But so this will
Which would,
be
man, if we had more than 16, I would be.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of people. I think that we had a couple of our tournaments end up with more than 16, but not many for the World Championship last year. So the what's going to end up happening here is that all these people that have built all their decks will register them at the beginning. They will not be able to edit them once the tournament begins. It will be a Swiss tournament at that point, just as if it had been a regular old constructed Swiss tournament with no alterations, no changes to what you've done. So you've really got to make sure that you saw what you're doing. This is a little bit different from how sealed normally works, because most sealed events are leagues, and in leagues you are free to go in and make tweaks to your decks in between matches. So if you decide that you've made a mistake, that, well, maybe I ought to include some of these other cards that I had left over here on the side, you can do that, but that's not the case here. You gotta make your good decisions up front and then run with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see what people pick now that we've had a playthrough of the league itself. So everyone has some knowledge already of how the decks play against each other, what seemed more powerful. I expect not to see a lot of Sauron, as I talked about at the very start. It seemed like the weakest deck in the standings. But if you have the right pulls, any of the decks can work. That's the beauty of sealed, is that if you open certain things, you can just make it work sometimes. I'm just looking at this weak sauce comment. When I try to register my deck, it says I can't because I don't own Dunharrow Plateau. Yeah. That's the simple answer. I know I'm a little worried some people might not register their decks in time or properly because not everyone's played these formats before, the tournament format, and registering a deck sometimes causes issues. But hopefully everyone can get in there. We're still missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that haven't entered a deck yet. So I think they have 5 minutes now to get it registered. I'm just gonna write that in. 5 minutes to.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't until I'd already hit enter that I registered what you were saying.
Yeah, that's all good.
Let's see.
Okay, we got more people in there. We're down to 3. Let's see if I can add weak sauce here. Yeah, it could be just that he hasn't selected the deck in the middle bar. So whatever that middle deck name is, it tries to register it, and then it says, "Oh, you don't have," and it's probably a bunch of cards. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I need to fix is the fact that when you save a deck for the first time, it doesn't show up in the main hall until you have refreshed. And this throws
Right.
people off a lot because if you edit an existing deck, those changes will automatically propagate. And so I think when people are just get used to the fact that, okay, I've got my 10 decks or whatever in my account, and I go and I make a couple changes and hit save, and then it's just there, right? It's just ready. But making a new deck does not follow that, and so situation like this throws people off. Hey, there he goes. Weak Sauce has got it
Yay.
registered. So now we're just
Okay, we're down to 2. I really hope everyone gets in. I don't want to see a situation where they just don't register the deck properly, and then that kicks 2 people out when it starts, and they got 3 minutes only.
Yeah.
Wingfoot and I'm pretty sure Wingfoot's played in some events, some tournaments that Vertigo created, so he should know how to get all this in, as far as I know.
Oh, we
But
got some
maybe I'm
chat over
mistaken
here.
there.
Let's see. Botnik says, I think getting decent Smeagol plus Rangers would require a lot of luck for the Gala, especially with
Oh
multipath
yeah,
where you need to count with Bridge and Fort of Bruin and Risk while having a 4-strength Ring Bearer. I think in this case it's King Path only, right? Is that?
well he was talking about the alternate ring bearer league.
Oh, I gotcha, yeah. And Cost, Champion of Solaris, he says, I like. The only complaint is the new UI, which is supposed to put the top card on the deck. It's hard to unlearn what I've done for over a decade. Oh, right. So yeah, he's talking about how probably whenever you interact with the deck now, or whenever you rummage through your deck and reveal stuff, it pops up a window that shows everything in the deck to match what goes on in the rules. Because when you put stuff in your deck or take stuff out of your deck, you're supposed to be able to inspect what's there.
Right.
So, but yeah, I
Yeah,
totally get the complaint about muscle memory though.
yeah. Wingfoot's in there now, so we're just down to height 91. I'm nervous for him. Minute 20.
Yep, he's. And honestly, I know that we have that timer there, but you'll notice that the timer is really only going down at about 5-second intervals. I would not play chicken with that 5-second interval.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't recognize his username either, so I don't know if he's done any of these before. I guess the consolation prize, if he doesn't get in time, is that we don't have anyone with a bye.
Oh
Because
yeah,
it'd be
that's
down to
true
12.
because it'll be even.
Yeah, but
He's
still
cutting it
not ideal.
close.
Yeah. Oh boy. I'm pretty sure I put in the instructions that if you don't get your deck in time, you'll get booted.
There we
Yeah,
go. All right, so
yeah,
the
he got
event
booted.
has started. So the system will have automatically. Oh wow, we probably need to do something about that. Yeah. So the sealed match has begun. We're now going to have. It's going to be the tables themselves will go up in 1 minute.
Yeah, this is exciting. I'm really interested to see what people play and who's going to be able to put their packs together for something beautiful.
Here we go. 30 seconds.
Yeah, we got some really good players in here too. We've got I think Domgam just is going to be the winner of the current league, so he's going to have an invite already locked up for the second league there. So him and Trista Lune will be the first two people that have already qualified. I think they're both Canadian too, which is awesome because for those who don't know, I'm also Canadian, so that's I'm happy about that.
All right, let's close
um,
all this other junk and get some of these tables open.
and yeah, I recognize Mock played in the World Championship. Basmelis, obviously, we all know he won the last 2 years of the World Championship. D. Staley has either made the top eight or maybe he was in ninth. I can't remember in the World Championship. FNL Groove was in the World Championship this past year. Uh, Commandante doesn't play the PC leagues, but he's a very, very good player. Um, I would say probably the best sealed player in Europe, in my opinion. So yeah, we got some really, really amazing people, and that's not to slight anyone that I didn't mention there. These are just the people that I recognize from the World Championship. Yeah, so let's see. Let's jump into a game here and see which one we're looking at.
Looks like we got a Gondor. So is this going to be a mirror match between the two? What was that? The Besieger deck?
Yeah, yeah, this will be the Gothmog deck.
So we got Lorio going first.
It's interesting that Lorio decided to start with Sam here. So clearly he's prioritizing wanting to be first, taking the first free people's turn,
Yeah, going
because
for
that's
that
the
four
only
burden
real
bid and
reason.
then peel
Yeah,
off three of the burdens. Yeah, that's a classic strategy, obviously, but does it give
this is
him?
where it's going to be interesting though, because he obviously bricked on his draw and didn't get any companions to go along with it. So now, how do you double when you're just sitting with two hobbits and a Denethor? And I don't think there's going to be any ability to kill one of these minions, so they'll be sticking around. Although a double to three isn't too bad here because you're probably only looking at 4 Twilight. So
On the other
you
hand,
might
two
be,
minions going down would be enough to lose you Frodo in
yep,
this
he is
situation.
going to
Oh, here
double
he
there.
goes though. Yeah, taking that risk.
Yeah,
Three
if he has
Twilight's not a
another,
lot. I guess even if he had another Orc infantry, that would use up all three Twilights. So I guess he's relatively safe.
he's pretty safe. There is that chance that, yeah, if he did drop another one-drop minion, he loses Sam and he's in a pretty bad spot to be with two companions. But I think that's the right choice. You need to be decently aggressive in sealed. Um, Not only just to try to win the race to 9, but also to have the flexibility to decide, oh, I can't double later when you run into some more serious trouble. So, yeah, it's important to take some educated risks here and there in order to win the game in the long run.
And actually, I missed that Steps of Edoras was the first site here. So each Gondor companion
Oh
gained
yeah,
Defender +1. So he had a Strength 10 Denethor, Defender +1. He was totally fine.
yeah, you're right. You're right. He was totally safe there. Worst case scenario, Denethor takes a 9 and a 5 strength minion and takes a wound. So
Yeah.
he was good there.
And Karam is going to be even safer here. I mean, it's going to be pretty difficult to pull out anything that is going to do so much as ding what he's got on the table. He's already got 2 fortifications.
Yeah, this Flames Within is a great card to get on turn 1 with your Shadow. basically just getting the ability to discard it to make a roaming minion +4 can often set up an overwhelm or potentially set up an ability to control a site. So that's going to be interesting to see if Lorio can take advantage of that. Something that's really interesting matchup is that both of these decks really want to control sites. But obviously, once a site is controlled, you can't take it away from the other person. And I didn't put any site liberation into any of these decks, so unless they opened it from their packs, um, they're kind of stuck trailing the other person if they don't get the sites first. So it's really quite a battle for the site control early on, especially when there's only a few sites available to be controlled. So I think that's going to play a major role in how the mirror match for the Gothmog deck plays.
You can see they're already given their shot. Mordor Pillager trying to take that first site because as the first Shadow player that has the opportunity, it's his chance to try and nab those decks in there. But of course, Pillager had an out clause that made sure that he wasn't able to stop it. Both
Yeah, and I
fortifications
like
going
that.
down.
I like that play from Lorio to make sure he goes first. I think he's probably expecting there to be a lot of Gothmog decks based off how the tournament went last month. And so, understanding that he wants first dibs on controlling sites, it's important to be able to go first. And then it's really good if you can double, because not only is your opponent going to want to stay caught up with you at site 3, but it's also opening up 2 sites that you can potentially control right off the bat. And then you're setting it up so that, again, your opponent can't take anything because they're already at site 3 and there's no available sites to control. So I think it's a really good, a huge advantage to go first in the mirror match here.
So there goes his Enduring Wraith getting taken out by that Flames Within. That +4 strength coming in clutch, like you said.
Mm. Yeah, that was pretty big. That's a good companion to have. You don't need any possessions on him, and he can easily be strength 10 with a couple wounds. You don't need to heal him, so it lets you double through sanctuaries sometimes. So yeah, I think that was a good choice to get him off the board. Okay, this is pretty big here. So he
Okay.
might be able to take 2 sites here. If he can keep Orc Infantry alive, he can discard Orc Infantry in the regroup phase to take control of a site, and then he can use Troop Tower and discard a Besieger to take control of the second site. So that was probably a really good reconcile to get both of those cards available.
Oh, he tried to activate first level. That probably should not even be
Oh yeah, because
selectable.
it's only
Yeah,
support
because
area to a minion. Yeah,
I
but
think
clearly
actually
he
I
sees
brought
the
that up with
threat.
people though, uh, and somebody mentioned that. Well, what if I have a bunch of enduring guys and I want to exert? Well, I guess that wouldn't
Mm,
happen in that case anyway, because it's a man specifically. But yeah, I think this is gonna
true, but
roll out exactly the
there
way
are
that you
some.
mentioned.
Yeah. This is a big turn for Lorio. Like he's very much getting the leg up with his shadow side. The big thing here will be, does he have a fourth companion? Because moving to site 4 with just 2 hobbits and Denethor that's going to be rough. I don't see any ability to keep the tempo up with his free people side if he doesn't have probably at least 2 companions here. Okay, and he's got one. Denethor is such a good card in this deck. To be able to play knights for Twilight cost -2
Hmm.
is massive because it just lets you choke the Twilight, and it's perfect with this Faramir too because he's going to look through your top
No,
10
didn't
cards,
find
and
one though.
unfortunately, yeah, got a little unlucky there. But I think I originally had Denethor in here in order to make the Sauron deck a little better, because each time you add a threat, that you also have to add a burden, or vice versa.
Hmm.
Um, but what I realized is that I need to make the Frodos the same, or else when people play their Frodos and then they see the opponent's Frodo and they're like, "Oh, they're playing the Sauron deck," I'll just not start Denethor, and it
Mm,
kind of
yeah.
ruins any advantage that that deck might have. So when I do some revisions, I'm going to make it so that every deck except for the Shelob deck uses Frodo Courteous Halfling, so that you can't really differentiate between any of them except for Shelob. And the only reason I'm not changing Shelob is because I think you need that specific Frodo in order to remove burdens sometimes, or no, sorry, to remove threats. And also it's thematic because it's a picture of Frodo in Shelob's lair. So I'm like, I kind of want that in there too.
Gotta have the right drip.
Exactly. I really do try to make it so that the pictures work with the theme as much as possible too. Like if I'm sort of waffling between what's the best fit between two cards, the tiebreaker is almost always, well, this picture works better with the theme that I'm trying to create.
Hey, I mean, if you need a tiebreaker, you may as well pick one that makes it look good.
Absolutely. Like that was how it was with the Sauron deck, which uses a copy of Elrond. And I was between two copies, and I'm like, well, let's definitely use this one where it's Elrond, at Mount Doom, where Isildur decides not to destroy the ring. It's just thematic with the Sauron deck.
Yeah, Lorio's actually, besides the fact that he's got the two controlled sites, the fact that he was able to lay down, what was that, like 7 wounds before the sanctuary. So like there's already attrition starting to build up here.
Yeah, whatever. I think it's what Mordor. I'm trying to think of what the besieger's name was. The one that could exert to try to win the site
Hmm.
or to control the site. That was big because he had to exert to prevent the site control, and then took 2 wounds from the fierce skirmish with that minion because he didn't have a pump or any ability to kill him off.
Hmm.
And then another 2 when he doubled. So yeah, this is. I think Karam's in a tougher spot here. He probably needs to try to jump ahead on the site path here if he has any ability to do that. Now, it's a bit risky. Um,
Jump into a site 5 as always.
yeah, if he could jump to 5 there and then put Lorio behind him, and so that when Lorio goes to 5, he can try to get 2 sites. I think that's probably the ideal play. Now, it's hard to do that though. Besiegers aren't roaming at 5, and if you don't have any Frodo protection, it's pretty hard to double there. But yeah,
Can I just mention real quick that I find it really annoying that Gorgoroth's swarm is 12 strength. Like
yeah,
you've got all these orcs, and oh yeah, like it's something that Aragorn can handle by himself. Like that's
yeah.
so dumb.
I just think it's crazy. It's only 5 Twilight cost.
Yeah,
Five
that too. Oh
Twilight for
yeah, I only need
12
5
strength,
Twilight to pull
and
out 10,000 orcs. Yeah, that's
yeah, and to get like, there's so much text on that card that it's kind of insane to not make it at least 6 cost. Oh, this is interesting here. So he pulled Southron Marksman in one of his packs and wanted to include it. That's interesting. It's hard to splash something that says to play spot another man of the splashed culture.
hmm.
There's a lot of times that's just going to get caught in your hand, and you'll either end up having to discard it during your reconcile, or it'll just continually clog your hand for multiple turns, which is often a death sentence in this game.
And he
Um,
didn't even use the
so
ability here. He just decided to leave the threat on the pile.
yeah, I wonder why. That's quite interesting. Maybe he was just looking at. He just thought, well, Frodo and Sam are just going to eat up the wounds. It's not worth it. But yeah, I don't know. I think I probably would have used it.
So that's Gleaming Spires going away because of Sauron Orc lost a skirmish. That's a condition that perhaps he probably should have held on to until he had a hand that could have done decently well. Because since you have so many Gondor characters on the field,
Right.
that could have made a huge difference. But instead, he played it on a turn where there were two Southrons. So even if Frodo hadn't used his frying pan to put that orc on the ground, these other two wouldn't have gotten a benefit from it anyway.
Yeah, I think in the event that Frying Pan wasn't on the field, I think you probably hold the card for one more turn to try to set something up. But with Frying Pan out, I think you know that eventually he'll just use that to win the skirmish. So it's going to get discarded anyway.
Yeah. Gutter being used to discard that last minion and then taking that jump all the way to 6.
Yeah, Lorio's in a very good spot. Lorio's a player that has improved extremely quickly over the past year. I think if it, now I might be wrong because frankly, I don't know everyone's background, but in terms of when he joined Gemp, it wasn't that long ago, and he plays a lot of sealed, and he's just very, very fast at learning the formats, and his play is really top level now. It's quite impressive.
That's always nice to see new, fresh faces come in. That's one of the things that I'm hoping to really, hopefully. Oh, uh, oh, hang on. That's just the server going down. I thought someone conceded.
Yeah.
It's probably just the fact that we have so many people currently online and all these people playing that it's looking at my user that's just a spectator and going, well, you don't need to be connected all the time. Never mind that you're the admin.
Let's pop over to another game here because I think Lorio's in a pretty solid spot here. Uh,
So it looks like FNL Groove and Wertigo's game is already over.
oh wow, that's quick. I wonder what happened there.
We got Commandant and versus Dongam. Looks like
Well, that's a big matchup there. Those are two really good players. Commandante playing the Shelob deck. I like to see that.
getting those webs all stacked up.
Yeah, this is such an interesting matchup because like having played my 10 games with the Shelob deck, uh, it's really finicky on when you have to decide I want to try to win with my free peoples and I'm just going to try to get stops with my shadow, or I don't think I can actually make it to site 9. Uh, so I have to stay close enough to still threaten it, but I need to save more of my orcs so that once Shelob gets a few kills, then I can try to swarm with my orcs. So it's a really fun but difficult deck to play, but it creates so many interesting situations within the game itself on just those little decision points of if you make one of these little decisions wrong, it can lead you to lose the game. But if you make it right, it feels ultra rewarding. So I really enjoyed playing the deck myself.
Yeah, glass cannon sort of concept. Really
Yeah,
good.
and like with the free people side, if you overexert, like you are in trouble because your companions are all so small. So you have to really be balancing what cards you hold when you use your limited resources on the free people side. You might have the ability to win a skirmish and still decide I don't need to win it right now because I'm not going to double. So I'm just going to take the wounds and absorb all those hits right now in order to save a few resources to combine with whatever I'm going to draw and then try to double next turn to get a leg up. So it's a fascinating decision tree that you go through in every game.
Botneck in chat saying Commandant 89 on Shelob. He talked a lot about your result with it, so I think he eyed the deck for quite some time.
Yeah, it was really fun playing the Shelob deck. I when I opened my packs for that original tournament last month, or that league, I should say, uh, I probably could have chosen the Gothmog deck because I had some pretty decent pulls in Gondor, but I just figured everyone's going to do it, and I know that, like I said at the start, it's really easy to look at the decks and think, well, how am I going to win with this fellowship? But having built the decks, I knew that this fellowship side isn't a slouch if you play it carefully. So I was like, you know what? They're about even. Uh, in my decision which deck to play, it's pretty even between Shelob or Gothmog. So I'll just go with Shelob, and I'll try to show people that it's very playable. And then I didn't expect to go 10-0, but I did, and I was pleased with that. So I got some luck though. Let's not be. I don't want to toot my own horn like I didn't. So yeah, there were a lot of times where I had to reconcile my hand and I drew uh, just enough minions to be able to swarm someone at site 8 or things like that. So yeah, it was a lot of really intense games and a lot of games that I just snuck out. I remember beating, I think it was Edard at site 4 because he bid 3 burdens to go first, and my site 4 was Anduin Banks, so I could remove 2 burdens to make a minion strength +2. So I ended up just being able to get just one guy on Frodo, but I could pump him strength +6 with his 3 burdens and was able to win that way. And he was already dominating my fellowship because I had such a weak
So here we
fellowship
got.
draw in
Sorry,
that game.
hang on,
So
real quick. So unabated
yeah.
malice being used here to pump Shelob all the way up to 21, putting,
Mhm.
getting him to the point where he can actually overwhelm Knight of Dol Amroth, who is the only one here on the table who is able to not get overwhelmed by that strength 17 Shelob with that 5th level, bringing her strength down just a little bit.
Yeah, this
Right
is
now, every
interesting.
fortification being thrown at Shelob, it seems, to try and get her down to just a little bit less.
Yeah, this is a pretty good position for Commandante to be in, where he's already exhausted the support area that Domgam has. Um, it's not too bad of a spot. Yeah, and he's going to be stacking Golem on the other one, I'm sure, here on the other web. Yeah, because he already has, I think he
And
has a
you can
Shelob
see a
stacked out.
preview here. This Shelob is 22 with all the
Yeah.
fortifications on her. Next time she comes out, she's not going to be nearly as easy to take care of.
They're having a little conversation there about how good Shelob is at this point.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how this league turned out. You know, I've created a few leagues where uh, the power level between decks was there was a bit more variance to it, whereas I think in this league, 3 decks are very playable, and if I make a few tweaks, I can get the Sauron one up to snuff as well. So yeah, I was happy that you know, for the kickoff league of the Sealed Masters tournament, you know, it was something that people enjoyed and people could play different options.
Yeah.
This is going to be tough for Commandante because he's definitely going to get 2 sites out of this. I think, or I guess he can only control 1. Yeah, okay. This is interesting here. So I'm just going to pull up the deck lists here so I can reference some of the names of the underused cards that have importance.
So it looks like they're talking
What?
here in chat about Shelob not showing up next turn, and he says that, well, because in fact you've only got 3 Twilight here on site 6 and 4 companions. So if he plays absolutely nothing, there won't be enough Twilight on the table for Shelob to come out, which will keep him alive for
Yeah.
one more site. But then Region 3 is not looking good. But then, kind of like you were talking about, it becomes a race here between, can Shelob come out and eat a few more people, or is the relatively weak Fellowship here going to get picked apart instead? Now, I say relatively weak, but with a promise here and with Frodo and Sam getting pretty well built up, it's not the skirmish ability here is not bad. Where shall we go being used to take out
Yeah,
one
that
of the
was big.
orcs?
Keeping Smeagol alive in this specific deck matchup is massive, because it allows you to still have access to the card, what's it called here? You Must Help Us, which is a fellowship event that says play Smeagol from your discard pile to heal each ringbound hobbit twice. So when you're playing against the Gothmog deck, eventually they control a bunch of sites. Gothmog puts a bunch of wounds on your companions, and you desperately need this card, um, comboing with Smeagol being able to discard himself in the regroup phase, to then heal essentially 4 wounds from your hobbits. At the other part of it too is you load up Smeagol with wounds, so you get him down to 1 vitality, then you discard him in the regroup phase, and then when you bring him back, essentially you've healed 7 wounds, 2 on each hobbit and 3 from Smeagol. So it's pretty interesting.
Just popping over real quick to see Lorio is getting further and further down the site path. It's definitely looking like things
Yeah,
are working pretty well for him. Site 8.
and he still has his Sam, which is interesting too.
Yeah, so there's still that opportunity either to sacrifice him to keep things alive or to just let Frodo die and Sam take the ring. Yeah, so that one looks like a long, slow death by 1,000 paper
Yeah,
cuts. But I think Lorio is going to come out on top on that one unless something surprising happens.
yeah,
Luke
I would
Sauce
be
and Mock
stunned
over
if he
here.
can.
We've got the Elf deck, Elf Man.
Oh, okay, so he's playing the Sauron deck. That's interesting. That's the Elrond that I chose for the thematic image.
Makes sense. It's like he's looking over at Isildur. Look at this. It's even.
Yeah. The other part of choosing that Elrond is that he has the ability to put Aiglos back into your draw deck at the top, so that you can keep drawing it again. Because Aiglos is one of the key ways that that deck can continually try to double
Mm,
by wounding minions in the regroup phase, and then with Elrond you can double, you can put it back at the top of your deck, set it up for the next double. Um, but yeah, it looks like he only has one other elf right now, so either he lost one of his Lorien swordsmen or he just hasn't found the second one yet.
yeah, looks like nobody's died just yet.
Yeah,
And so Mock down here is playing the Shelob deck as well. Got some
I
pretty
love to see
interesting
it. That's
stuff.
great.
I think a lot of people are looking at your results and going, maybe that deck isn't as bad as I thought it was.
That's perfect. That's what I wanted to see because people, yeah, like people. I think it misevaluated it a lot. When the league first started, there was a lot of talk about, well, this deck looks unplayable and things like that, and yeah, I'm happy that maybe some opinions have changed on it.
So I think what we were talking about a moment ago pretty much exactly happened. Dongam moved over to minus tier 6th circle, didn't play anything, managed to not get Shelob on the table, and so now we're back to Commandant walking out with his hobbits, and with 2 copies of a promise on here, they're getting pretty beefy here.
Yeah, they're hard to kill. 4 sites though. Yeah, here's where things start getting woundy. 4 sites. You drop Gothmog, he does 4 wounds. So this is where you really need that copy eventually of.
You must help us.
The other interesting part of this is sometimes you don't want to wound up Smeagol yet because there's an event where he can cancel the skirmish if he has a higher vitality than the minion he's skirmishing.
Hmm.
Yeah, sneaking. There it is. So he didn't want to put any of the wounds on Smeagol for that exact reason, is you needed to be able to cancel the skirmish. Because 13 strength fierce is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. He's choosing to kill off the knight. Okay. Oh, I see, because of the 3 threats. Yeah, he wants to be able to make them burdens instead of, uh, if Gothmog's ability is able to kill someone in the shadow phase, then you're not able to convert the threats into burdens, and they'd have to turn into more wounds. So he's very smart to clear
Oh yeah.
those threats now and make them burdens.
Yeah. Since the ruling ring is limited here to only during a skirmish.
Yeah, I think at some point I'll probably make a league where there's different rare rings in different decks, but I don't
That
know. The
that can be
simplicity of
that
the
can be
ruling
so
ring is good.
difficult, I think, because like the ruling ring in constructed is almost never seen. The only time that you ever really see it is in Fellowship Block, where there are some niche situations where it's somewhat better than Isildur's Bane, but in every other format, nobody touches it because it's
Yeah,
guaranteed that
exactly.
there's going to be a better rare ring for you to use. Monstrous Shelob coming down with 26 strength.
And here's the thing: he just played his third copy of Web, so he
Oh,
opened
so
up
there.
Web in his one Siege of Gondor pack. So that's
Definitely.
open a
You
third copy of Web.
yeah,
Am I cutting out a little bit,
a little bit, yeah.
or is there a bunch of background noise?
No, it cut out for a moment, so we didn't hear the last
Oh,
half of that
okay, good.
sentence. But yeah, no, but I think I
Oh,
got the gist. Yeah, that the web was pulled from the one Siege of Gondor pack. So yeah, super lucky to
yeah,
get that.
like
Although
that's huge. Like,
we're definitely in the realm of diminishing returns though, because at 26 strength, there's absolutely nothing that anyone's going to be able to do. You'd need to get
the
to
one,
so you'd have to be 13 strength or higher. No, sorry, 14 strength or higher just to not get overwhelmed.
right?
And that's
Yeah, one of the big cards in the Gothmog deck though is, where is it here? Oh no, it's not in that deck. Apologies. I was going to say uh, It's a card that's in the Sauron deck, if I can find it here. It's the one where if you're about to be overwhelmed, you can discard a card from hand to make him strength +2.
Oh, Footman's Armor.
Yes, that. So
I only know
that
that
card
because
can
we've been
really.
discussing it a lot in the Rules Council because it's kind of problematic
Oh,
from a
really?
rules perspective. But
Yeah, understandable. All these uh, about to be or about to finish a skirmish things responses get complicated, but
mhm.
the way it's currently working is that card can save you from Shelob quite well because you just keep discarding card after card until your companion is strong enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, like this is looking deadly with all these webs stacked up for Commandante here. And the interesting thing is he's down to 7 cards now, but um, it doesn't matter too much because you have your Smeagol or your Golem and your Shelob stacked on the web, so you always have those that you can keep bringing out over and over again. Um, so it's tough to even when they get low on cards, it's still
Well,
tough to double
we
on
talked about the enormous Shelob, but we have ourselves a Strength 22 Gothmog coming out for
it.
Dungam.
And
So
fierce.
Andy's fierce, yeah. So this is looking like neither fellowship is doing very well. Both shadows are managing to really get going. We have the webs getting built up for Shelob. We have 4 sites controlled for the Gothmog side. Like this is definitely looking like who's going to kill Frodo first.
Yeah, this is interesting. Well, I'm gonna guess that Legolas and Eorlas are gonna be sacrificed to Gothmog. Um, Legolas in the first skirmish, and then Eorlas will take a wound in his first skirmish and die in the fears.
Hmm.
My fear, I guess, the orc infantry can be put on Smeagol if he doesn't have any Smeagol tricks. So that's fortunate that there's someone small enough to not kill Smeagol. And then the other two obviously will go Frodo and Sam, and that'll be fine there. But yeah, even if he loses those 2 companions, having the base of Frodo, Sam, and Smeagol go into Site 9 is fine, and he doesn't have to double here because it's going to be extremely difficult for Domgam to double
Oh yeah,
unless
yeah.
Dom
Not
can
not not
find
not with that
some
spider looking
companions.
at him eagerly. Yeah, with both
Yeah,
of these guys enough to kill him on site 8, and then what have you got for Frodo on site 9? Yeah,
yeah.
that's
The only thing I can imagine for Dom is that if he draws 2 or 3 more companions and Commandante doesn't have many orcs left, he might be able to just barely squeak it out with a double move to 9, but it's pretty unlikely. Oh, this is an interesting interaction here. So there's Gorgoroth Axeman that's assigned to Frodo right now, and he can discard himself to make a minion strength +1 for each site you control,
oh
which he just did.
ho.
So,
All right,
okay,
so Smeagol self discards.
yep. So that's interesting. It might mean that he might just be avoiding the threat wounds with it.
Well, no,
That's
because the
interesting.
threats were added by Smeagol himself.
Oh
So
yes, okay, of course. Yeah. Oh, and this is that's the right order to do it in because then you get to clear them and turn them into burdens here with the other kills. Yeah. Interesting. He didn't want to go over 4 because of the threat of maybe in Quaya being opened, but I think I probably would have made both of those burdens if I was playing.
mhm.
Just because
Oh, what?
dropping Gothmog.
Okay, well,
Okay,
so he
he's got the
saves the
event.
knight.
Interesting. The scary thing here is if he doesn't have the card to bring Smeagol back, I think a Gothmog on Site 9 would just kill him
Yeah.
with the wounds from being played. Yeah, and he gets a 5th site controlled there. Yeah, this is down to the wire. This could go either way.
Little bit of an edge for Commandant, I think, but yeah, I think you're right. I think that it all comes down to what's getting drawn. And Commandant here is down to only 3 cards in his deck. So he may find himself decked out and out of resources. No more tricks
Oh,
available.
he might be trying to get a swarm here. It won't quite be enough to kill Frodo, but it'll do some damage, and I
32
can't imagine
strength
there's
Sheila.
with with a 6 available strength from Larder, and I don't know how much from Unabated and Malice.
I mean, at some
What would
point,
that?
it's just overkill, right? It's just
Yeah,
like this is just for me to let you know that you are screwed. That there's nothing
yeah,
you can do.
Yeah, both of these knights are dead.
Both of the knights are dead, and almost. Hmm. I mean, Frodo is pretty darn close to being overwhelmed here.
Yeah, he's just one strength
Just one
surviving,
strength,
depending
yeah.
on whether there's some sort of protection in hand. But this might be all that Domgam needs, though. If he stays alive here with just Frodo and then is able to get the shadow kill at 9, it's survival of the fittest. Yeah, Commandante just said you have me with Gothmog. So this is interesting.
And we can't see their discards.
I know.
I wonder if we ought to like change just for sealed or something, make it so that we can look at discards, because that's something that there's been some discussion on Facebook, where a bunch of people, when I announced the rules council, they were suggesting, hey, yeah, fix some of those dumb things like the discard pile and whatnot.
Right.
And
Yeah, I'm totally open to that.
it's something that I'm a bit torn on, because on the one hand, I want to make sure that Decipher formats are available as a snapshot of what they
Right.
once were. But I think for sealed, especially these sealed events that you're putting together that didn't exist before, it seems like
We should have the ability to do what we want with them.
exactly, yeah. So going in and making the discard pile public information, that I mean, that would probably just be one more thing that you have to keep on top of, right? So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. This is interesting. So in their chat, Commandante says, "You got me with Gothmog," and Domgam says, "I don't have it in hand yet." And Domgam just drew 3 cards. So this is kind of the deciding, did he get it in those 3 cards or not?
giving away
Yeah, there,
information to your opponent, or else lying to his face and doing mind games.
right.
Like,
Okay, this is interesting though. So he says he doesn't have Gothmog, but what is the surprise that he has?
I mean, you've got 3 companions on the table with 2 wounds apiece.
Oh, he
That's
gets to draw
that's
5 cards from this.
oh, okay. Orc Captain. When you play this minion, you may spot a Sauron condition to draw a card for each site you control. Limit 3. So
Oh, limit
three
3.
cards
Okay.
getting drawn because he happens to have that window of the eye down.
This is intense. Yeah, he's Commandante's saying he's got um 2 Gothmogs in the deck, so it'd be painful for Domgam if he doesn't draw, if
So
there's 2 in his bottom
he
9
doesn't need
cards.
the discard at public. He's got it all tracked. Oh
Yeah,
well, we got an Olokai
he
coming
doesn't
out.
have it. Wow, he didn't have it. Commandante's going to survive here.
Now we do have. Well, do we? Each besieger is strength
Uh,
+1 for each site you control.
yeah, now the there and back again is going to pump him up, and you kill off the Gondor companion with the big guy, and fierce doesn't matter. Wow, that's extremely unlucky for Domgam to have 2 Gothmogs in the bottom 9 cards.
Yeah, that's rough.
But what a game! Like this was. Look at the state of the fellowships here.
This is what I like to see, because I feel like Fellowship Block does this a lot, where you end up with all this carnage, and you squeak by the skin of your teeth. And in movie, that doesn't tend to really happen. It seems like most of the time that it's a blowout one way or the other. Um,
Right.
so it's nice to see it here in sealed, but I'd really like to get constructed PC movie to a point where you have this sort of carnage going on.
Right. It's hard to do. It's much easier to like build it in a sealed atmosphere because there's such a limited card pool.
Hmm.
So yeah, it'll be interesting if we can create a constructed format that has the same sort of feel. But that's a tall task, I think.
All right, Commandant manages to get through. Both Frodo and Sam still alive. Yeah, quite a good game there.
Yeah, that was insane.
All right, let's see. So
Who do
most
we
of the
have
other
left?
games, let's see. Did Lorio? Yep, Lorio made it out. He's 4 sites ahead of his opponent, all the way in site 9. I think we've only got the one game still rolling here. Weak Sauce
Yeah.
versus Mock.
Mock is moving to. Oh, Mock's. Is he? Oh, he must have just played something that makes Frodo not die from being
It must have
tripled.
been Tale of the Great Ring.
Oh, or
Because
that, yeah.
because we have strength 11 versus what was that, 26 or something. He should
Yeah,
have been
29,
overwhelmed, but
yeah.
Tale of the Great Ring would be enough.
Wow, okay. So again, that's the Shelob deck getting a win all the way to Site 9.
Let's see, but this is it Swiss? I thought it was just Swiss, right?
Yeah, it should just be a Swiss format. Yeah, if people need to drop, they can drop at any time. That's no problem. So the next round looks like it's starting in 20 seconds here.
Yep. That was the last game going. So I tell Mosdred that he's welcome to abandon, and he says, "Well, I guess I have to abandon the kids then." That's nothing for it.
Yeah, it's possible to come in second after a loss. That's true.
Yeah, it really depends on the
Tiebreakers and all that stuff.
and
So who would have won here?
when you don't
Lorio.
have a power of 2, it makes things a little difficult to know ahead of time. So what do we got? We got Lorio versus Distale. We got Wingfoot 81 versus Mock. We got Vertigo versus Commandant. Mosdru versus Weak Sauce, and Domgam versus Karam.
Looks like Basmelis dropped, so someone got a buy. So the winners here,
FNL Group
Lorio and D.
FI.
Staley, Wingfoot and Mock, and Vertigo and Commandante, I think, are the 3 matchups of the 6 winners from the first round.
And actually, we should be able to come on over
Yeah,
here.
that's
There we
probably
go.
easier.
Yeah. Yeah, so Commandant, Wingfoot, Vertigo, Distale, Lorio, and Mock all got a win. So they were paired up against each other, and then everyone else down below gets paired against each other in a standard Swiss.
Okay, is this Lorio again with the Sam start? Interesting. Again, we see the Gothmog mirror match for him, so his strategy of going first with the Burdens and the Sam is paying off again.
So he must
Just
have
gonna
pulled.
pop
So
open.
that must have come from his single Fellowship of the Ring pack, huh? And it's paid off for him so far. I imagine he's just going to keep doing it over and over. Although we'll see what he does when it's not a mirror match.
Yeah. So the Wingfoot and Mock game is going to be Smeagol versus or Shelob versus Shelob, and the Vertigo and Commandante game
Also, Shelob versus
is
Shelob.
yeah, this is interesting.
Lots
There's a
of
lot more
people.
Shelob being played
So
than I anticipated.
this is one of those things though, where like when you have a meta, when you have like recorded competitive results and such, people who are successful with one archetype will often have massive outsized influence on the meta. Because
Hmm.
people are able to see and watch the replays and go like, whoa, this actually works out way better than I thought intuitively just by looking at the deck list. And like we noticed this after each world championship, that the decks that Bestmelis would win with, you would often start to see a big spike in their usage level, just because
Yeah,
monkey see, monkey do, right? So
yeah, yeah. You see the results and you go, "Hey, this is actually good. Maybe I should be playing it."
and especially when you have high level players that are going to be doing their prep work and are going to take a look at how things went and try to come up with a with a plan, they're definitely going to follow the money, right? Follow the successful strategies.
Yeah. This is something that I like about. This is the first time I'll be able to see a mirror match between the Shelob deck, and Sting might have a pretty big role in it because if the Fierce Skirmish is about to end, add a threat to discard the minion. Um, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So Wingfoot looks like he thought that he could make changes to his deck in between.
Uh-oh.
Shouldn't be a big deal, but I have a couple pump cards that only work on one minion in this deck. LOL. Well,
No.
those are the sorts of sort of anchors that can go around your neck.
Yeah, that sounds like a discard in the reconcile.
Yeah, and it's one of those that kind of like I brought up before. That's going to be one of the big differences between these sealed leagues and the sealed tournaments is that in the sealed leagues you can adjust and adapt and try
Right.
to work with what you got. But here, like you may as well throw out all the cards once that are not in your deck once we start because you don't have any access to them.
Yeah, no changes yet.
So Botnik
Yeah,
in
you made
chat
some interesting.
makes the point back to
Oh,
when
go
we were
ahead.
talking about the discard piles. He says so in a live tournament you would write down the important cards going in the opponent's discard, right? So in theory you can do it in Geb as well, but it would prolong the game and make the experience much worse. So yeah, I mean you may as well just be able to click on it and look at it and see, oh yeah, there are exactly 2
Yeah,
Gothmugs in the discard pile.
I remember the guy on Facebook who used to work for Decipher, and his name is escaping me right now, but
Trevor McGregor.
he commented, yes, that's it. Yeah. He commented that the reason they decided to have the discard pile hidden was that they weren't going to allow players to write information down in official tournaments.
Hmm.
But when you're playing online, you can't police that. There's no point in hiding it when you can literally just look through the chat log, or you could be writing in a notepad or whatever, the different copies of whatever's being played and how many and all that stuff. So all it does at this point is slow the game down if people are wanting to track that closely.
Right, and I've made the argument in the past when we were first setting up the discard piles for PC is that it would actually be fairly trivial from a technical standpoint for someone to write like a browser extension that would just record everything from the log and then just give you an estimate of what's in the discard pile. Like it would,
Right.
and again, yeah, it would be practically impossible for us to detect that. So rather than let cheaters cheat, why not just give that information to everybody, and now you have no worry about whether anybody's cheating because it's all right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, the only way to half police it is to use a really short play timer. But like you said, even if they have some sort of program that they've created to log all that for them, then they're not taking the time anyway.
So we're gonna go away from here. It looks like Commandant is
Yeah.
begging for relief. Oh, that's interesting. So
Oh,
pulled a different copy of Shelob and decided to include it. So this is the enduring one. Don't
and a
necessarily
copy
need
of
it.
Let Her Deal with Them. That's interesting too, because that can make anyone damage +1. And that's
Enduring.
so interesting too, to play spot Golem or Shelob. Or sorry, I mean Golem or Smeagol, and so you can spot
Oh, so he
Smeagol in all
spotted
these matchups.
Smeagol. Yeah, did that at Site 3.
That is killer,
Yeah, so that's
because
going to
he'll be
be
damage
two.
+2.
Yeah, so it's going to be 2 wounds on the first one, but then she's in a fierce skirmish. Shelob is damage +1, so it's going to be 3 wounds on this. Okay, well, that's unfortunate that it's. Well, I guess that's going to be a dead Egnor. Yeah, that's 3 wounds right there. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. I thought maybe
Wow.
it's possible that they missed one of the damage +1s on there and didn't realize that was going to be a death, thinking that oh
Right.
yeah, I'll just put another 2 wounds on somebody, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, that's an interesting pull. Quite interesting to see. In the end, though, this deck is fine to lose any companion that isn't the 3 key
The main 3
companions.
ones, yeah.
Everyone else is kind of just fodder that you chuck at Shelob in this matchup.
Larder really getting built up though. Wingfoot discarding a lot of orcs,
Hmm.
which
Yeah, no
is
copies of
probably
Web
wise.
yet. Is a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unlike over here, Commandant already, just out of the gate has two webs and a larder set up.
yeah,
Already
that's
starting
going
to
to be tough.
slowly build that up.
Now, having never seen this matchup of the mirror match, I think it's gonna side on a shadow kill more likely than not. I think, just because I think the Free People side will run out of resources.
Once you lose you have one dodge from ditching Smeagol, but once that Smeagol or once the Shelob gets too big, here's the third web coming out.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot that these guys. She's already strength 20.
Although File of Galadriel, that'll save you for a full
Oh,
turn.
it's the Starglass one. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll help.
Probably want to hold
And
on to
then
that
yeah,
as long as possible, though.
yeah, oh for sure. Yeah, you want ideally you save it for region 3. Do I have a bunch of background noise right now?
Nope. Discord does a pretty good
Okay, good.
job of filtering stuff out. I can even eat a bag of chips on here, and it wouldn't.
Really?
You wouldn't be able to tell.
Wow. Sweet.
So hopping over real quick over to Mosdrew versus Weak Sauce. Spotnex points out that he's one of the only ones running the Gorbag deck. Possibly the only one here.
Yeah, I think he probably is, which is surprising to me because this deck, I'm pretty sure people playing this deck got second and third in the league, and then after that, fourth
So
through
they
like
lost
10th was
first and
almost
second, is what
straight
you're
golf
saying,
mode.
and everybody ignored it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very good deck. Being able to wound up Frodo really quickly a lot of the time, and then all these little orcs just
And
turn
yeah, like
into
they're already
decent
piling
threats.
it on.
Yeah,
This is quite a bit. Now, this particular card, this particular Nertea, it kind of mystifies me a little bit because of the art. This is
hmm
not a movie still, and this is not like a pre-production photo. This is a digital painting. Um,
huh.
and I don't understand where it came from or why it's here. Like it's perfectly on model, so I don't think it's concept art. I kind of think that somebody at Decipher or something just whipped this up. I mean, it comes from
That's
Towers
interesting.
Block, so they just didn't have any. There were hardly any shots of the Nazgul in that movie.
Yeah, so they decided to create something.
That's my running theory, but I haven't heard from anybody. I haven't been able to get any sort of confirmation on that. But it's always mystified me a little bit.
It does kind of look like a model. Like I have the card zoomed in on my computer here, and I'm just
Hmm.
like the way that himself is sitting. I'm kind of like looks a bit rigid.
That could be the case actually. If someone had a clay model like they did at Weto a lot, and then went over it with a digital brush to get the colors right or something, I could see that
Yeah,
possibly. Um,
that's interesting though that it's not in the film.
Now, granted, I understand why you would want to do that because look, like that pose is great. Most of the other Nazgul poses are this, which is
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's okay, but it's nothing to write home about. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that this shot and that shot are the exact same one. Swooping in for that
like the same
roar.
Nazgul.
Yeah, exact same Nazgul.
Yeah,
That happens a lot. Like
yeah.
the shotgun and Quaya, that's actually a shot of the Witch King. Like what are you gonna do? Like you can't actually keep the 9 Nazgul straight, so you just gotta
No,
pick and choose.
yeah. It's funny, from playing this game. When you watch the movies, you see all the card images as you're watching it, and it's funny that we've kind of given names to the Nazgul themselves when you're watching it, because it's like, well, they don't actually have identities other than just being the Nazgul in the film.
Well, do
So
you
it's
actually know
funny
where the
that we're
names come
like,
from? Do you know what Decipher's method there
I
was?
don't.
So
No.
they so the back in the 90s there was a game ran by Iron Crown Enterprises called the Middle Earth CCG, and they had taken the route of actually just inventing 8 characters or 7 characters because we know the Witch King and we also know Kamul the Easterling is a name that the token dropped somewhere. But other than that, there were no names given for any of the Nazgul, and so they decided that they were just going to invent 7 other kings and give their names to the Nazgul. So when Decipher inherited the rights, they were kind of at an impasse, right? Like they don't want to go around just saying, well, first Nazgul, second Nazgul, third Nazgul, but they also didn't want to, like, obviously they didn't have the rights to Iron Crown stuff, so they didn't want to take that, but they also weren't quite sure about going the route of inventing, 7 new Nazgul. And now we've got all these names of Nazgul thrown around. So what they ended up doing was they actually went and looked at the Elvish. This is literally just like third Nazgul or something. Like Ulere is Ringwraith, and Inquea is like third or fourth or whatever. So every single one of them
Interesting.
is second Nazgul, third Nazgul, fourth Nazgul, all the way on down.
I
That's
had no idea. That's super cool.
Yeah. So like they kind of threaded the needle, right? So they came up with it with a consistent naming scheme, but that didn't involve actually inventing anything. It's just straight Elvish, that has a very straightforward meaning. In fact, that's one of the subtitles for the Witch King that I've been thinking of doing, because you could do first Nazgul, and so he'd be like Ulere something, that would be a good subtitle for him.
Right. Something with the subtitles, how there's like in Quaya faster than winds and things like that.
Hmm.
They use a lot of the same subtitle on the
Oh yeah,
Nazgul.
you can really tell that they got bored after a while, and then they'll just say, okay, this is first of the Nine Riders, second of the Nine Riders, third of the Nine Riders, and then
Yeah.
you'll have, faster than winds is another one, thrall to the one is one that they just slapped
Yeah.
on a bunch of guys.
Yeah, it was like every set they're just like, all right, here's 5 Nazgul. They're all have the same subtext.
Yeah, I think whoever was doing the art or whatever just got really tired of needing to come up with 8 distinct things. Yeah, Black Threat is another one. They have the naming scheme of Black X. Um,
Right.
and then here's, that round where it was just whatever number of the Nine Riders.
Yeah.
And then, Dark Threat. I'm pretty sure that there was another round of Dark whatever.
Yep. That's so funny.
And like, I don't blame them. That's got to be a pain in the butt to really get those going. In fact, thinking about it, the PC hasn't actually gone so far as to release any Nazgul. Come to think of it, with the exception of the Ringwraith and Twilight, which the whole point was that it's a non-unique Nazgul.
Mm-hmm.
So like, we're kind of throwing stones in a glass house here without actually putting our money where our mouth is, and that for that, but we make up for it for the number of Gandalfs and Aragorns we released.
Yeah.
So let's hop over then. Take a look at what Where to Go and Commandant are up to. We've got an absolutely terrifying number of stacked cards on web. Yeah, the other one is looking kind of wimpy in comparison. Commandant is once
This is
again.
interesting though, because Word goes up at Site 6 already, and Commandante's
Oh yeah,
back
so
at
he's tearing his
3.
way down. Yeah, that's.
So yeah, this is. I bet you. So Vertigo probably looked and was realizing that his shadow was setting up slowly, and was like, "I need to run down the site path." Um, Now I think ideally Commandante is going to want to double here if possible. Well, that hurts losing a companion there. But yeah, there it is. So narrow escape. Get rid of that minion. Don't let anything get stacked on web. Easy double to 5 here, so that you can still. If you stop the, oh, he didn't double. That is interesting. Okay, so he's
Well, so
committing
if
to
he
the shadow kill.
doubled, he'd be at 5. He would have to double again past the
Yeah, past the sanctuary. Yeah.
past the sanctuary.
Wait, sometimes though you got to keep that threat alive, because if they surprise you with a really good fellowship turn, you might just look at it and say, "I can't kill them unless I can force them to double." So you have to at least put the pressure on at times.
Oh, Smeagol's in the dead pile for Vertigo though. He's not
Okay,
in the
that
discard.
hurts.
So,
Yeah, that hurts.
so we have a bunch of random companions coming out, Bounder coming out, which may make the difference here. But
Yeah,
so
Bounder's
one
big.
Shelob
Actually,
can take out both of these. That could
this
very
Arwen isn't
well
too
be
bad.
enough time. Here she comes, 29 strength, with a larder with plenty of tokens on it.
This Arwen is actually pretty relevant in the matchup too, especially if you're playing against Gothmog, because the ability to prevent wounds through discarding cards is absolutely massive.
Be massive anywhere else, but not against a giant Shelob.
No,
She's
not a lot of wounds coming down there.
she's actually one that we recently gave an errata to try and make her more appealing. So we changed her, so instead of 3 static cards, it's X cards from hand, where X is the current region number. So in regions 1 and 2,
Okay.
you can prevent wounds a little easier.
Right. That's
But
interesting.
there goes Arwen and the tree into the dead pile, both ripped apart
But
by the monstrous Shelob.
he's still holding on to that file of Galadriel, and I think that is going to probably win him the game.
Yeah, that's gonna make a giant difference there. That'll be one site where they can say, okay, your Shelob doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just make it a nice little base strength 8,
Well,
and
that's only one site.
still though, if he's already at 7, you stay alive for 8, and then even if you can drop one companion, you're probably okay, especially with Bounder.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that he doesn't have any promises out, so I guess there's not really a whole lot that he can get from. Although, so Bane of the Eight Legs is on Sam. If
Yeah,
you use File to get Shelob's strength down to a reasonable amount, and then win the skirmish, or actually no, you don't have to win the skirmish.
now
But so
just
you
stay
could
alive.
use Sting to discard Shelob, and I don't know
Yep.
if there's a whole lot of copies. Okay, never mind. No, never mind. There's 3 copies of Shelob on web. That's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that won't get him anywhere. So speaking of file, I think that was just used to
Yeah,
prevent
to be able
old
to.
villain from cycling through his hand. That's an interesting.
That's smart.
Honestly, like to do that just to deny your opponent the ability to cycle. That's we're definitely at the level where those sort of small advantages are really what players need.
Yeah, all those little tiny decisions and uh, correct details often can swing really close games. Oh, that's
Oh,
huge.
that's huge.
2
And there
companions.
and back again. Yeah, this
That's
is
definitely game. I can't imagine how he could, unless he can get some sort of massive swarm, but I just don't see it. Well,
hmm.
okay,
Well,
okay.
that's quite a swarm, and then here comes the last copy of Shelob. The other 3 are stacked on a web, ready to be used. Ooh,
Wow,
this is
this is fascinating. Like, 'cause you got to kill either Sam or
one,
Frodo
two,
here.
three, four, five, six. No, 7 cards from hand. Yeah, 7
Yeah,
of the 8 cards in hand were minions that were thrown down onto the table. That was
yeah. And Commandante was smart to be saving all of his really low cost minions, like those 3 1-drops and the 2-drop, because he knew I need to have a swarm to get a kill here. I'm sure he wasn't anticipating seeing 2 additional companions, but
But that won't make all that big a difference because now you still have Shelob to deal with. You have to decide: are you gonna blow the file now and then
mhm.
have a monstrous Shelob on site 9?
Yeah,
Where to go? Come on, man!
there's a
Now I need to
lot
think
of
about
math
what
to
to
do
do.
here.
Yeah, he was ready to go on autopilot, just blasting
Oh
his
yeah.
way through, killing the 2 companions. But now the end of the game is knocking on his door.
Yeah, this is interesting too because
Oh
he's
yeah,
got
and the Isengard Smith.
Isengard Smith.
Oh yeah, that can be Sting being gotten
Although that's
rid of.
only in the regroup phase, so that's not
True, yeah, but
it's
that's gonna
just
make
for
Site
Site
Nine
9.
all that worse. Like
Yeah,
if you can find a way to thread the needle through this, you're then also gonna have to deal with another Shelob on Site 9, possibly without any swords to your name.
right.
That's
Yeah, this is interesting because you really want to make them use the Bounder here and
just deplete
hope
any
well,
resources. Yeah.
yeah, or well, you got to try to kill Sam or Frodo. That's the big thing, which is tough to do with File and There and Back Again and Bounder. Um, Certainly, Vertigo is doing a ton of math right now.
Yeah, yeah. There and back again being burned. Won't have that for Site 6 or for Site 9.
Wow, this is amazing. This is another
What a
great game.
twist! Yeah. Let's see. So if you put Shelob on one of these nobodies, and then 8 strength on the nobody, 7 strength on on Sam, I suppose, and then the 6 strength on the Goblin Man. Where's my calculator?
The other
Then
interesting thing here is you might want to try to overwhelm both the Elite Rider and the Gimli
so there's
in order
21
to make it
strength
so that
to be allocated here. Yeah, like so Gimli's obviously gone.
Gimli's dead, but Gimli can make Elite Rider strength +2 using his skirmish ability. So if you want to kill Elite Rider, you need at least 16 on him.
Hmm.
But then if you allocate 16 to him, Shelob is going to not be able to kill Sam or Frodo because of Bounder. Well, I guess he could kill Frodo, but he couldn't kill Sam.
Well, so this is 21 strength right here. You slap all that on Sam, and he'll be forced
Yeah,
to use the Bounder. But then I
right.
suppose
But then
then
the
the
Elite
Elite
Rider.
Rider will will tank the second Shelob. But so then you're gonna find yourself. Oh, the sting bug! Oh no!
Oh,
So
I'm just gonna type. Don't do it.
go for it. Um, so the thing about Bane of the Eight Legs, right, is this is actually something that the Rules Council is currently discussing. If a fierce skirmish involving bearer is about to end, add a threat to discard a minion involved in that skirmish. When does that happen? Does that happen at the same time? Like, so if you're about to be overwhelmed by Shelob, does it happen before the overwhelm or after the overwhelm? And the reason why this is such a question is because of effects such as Footman's Armor, which say if bearer is about to be overwhelmed, discard a Gondor fortification or a card from hand to make bearer strength +2. So the idea is if you can modify the result of the skirmish before the overwhelm has actually been calculated, then like at what point is Sting actually available? And yeah, so like this is I accidentally fixed this because people kept reporting it as a bug that you weren't able to use Sting before you were overwhelmed, and so I fixed it to do that. But then a bunch of other people were like, "Well, wait, that's not right." So it's kind of right now. He could, in theory, use Sam up against Shelob and add a threat to discard her before the overwhelm is performed, and we're not 100% sure that that's kosher. In fact, I think that there's pretty good evidence that it's not, but it remains unfixed at the moment.
Yeah, this is interesting. So he went the route of killing Elite Rider here,
Hmm.
and wasn't able to do more than just a wound on Sam. But in theory, Shelob for the fierce skirmish has to go on Sam, and then Bounder has to be used unless there's something in his hand like a severed his bonds or something. But yeah, I don't know how you don't just use. Oh, he does have Larder. I forgot about Larder.
So there's a floating 6 strength there, so he can get all the way up to 35,
Yeah,
which
so does
means
that
that
change anything? Does
well,
it
yeah,
force him to play
that's
File here?
triple of 30. So yeah, he could.
Yeah, the big question is what does Vertigo have in his hand? Does he have a Hobbit Intuition or anything that can let him get Strength +3?
If he has a single event, then yeah, that would let him. Oh,
Oh
he takes
no.
it and doesn't use Bounder, doesn't force the Larder use. But now the Hobbit Sword's gone from Smith, and now these
Wow.
webs are about to get so much more disastrous. Let's take a look
This
over
is
here.
crazy.
Shelob is 32.
I'm stunned he didn't use File then. But maybe he's out of companions, possibly. Like I'm sure he knows his own deck, and he does have 6 dead companions already, so maybe he
Six,
doesn't have
7.
any
So
more.
yeah, there's only 2 more that he could even in theory play, or maybe
Right.
he's holding both of them and he thinks that that's going to be enough to get through. Because
Yeah,
this is most of it, right? Most of the minions that are left. Commandant is down to 3 cards left in his deck.
true. I assume he's got uh, a Golem. Yeah, he has a Golem stacked, and he obviously has a Shelob stacked though. So that's already guaranteed two minions that are going
Mm-hmm.
to be like that Golem is no slouch either when you got a full hand of cards to discard.
Yeah,
Well,
+2
that
strength
side eight
against a
was
ringbound companion. Yeah, that's. I mean, honestly, everybody is just like, okay, let's get to this fight. Everybody knows that this is not really the only thing that matters is Commandant, yeah, clearing out Free People's cards from his hand. Yeah, just blowing all these skirmish events that aren't helping him. And now that gets him to the point where he'll be able to draw the last 3 cards in his deck, and then it will all come down to what tricks Vertigo is able to pull off. Go ahead, put your orc on the web. No one cares. It's not gonna not gonna
That
make
was
any
a nice.
difference. Although, yeah,
There's a nice
larder
move
being used
from
to filter the hand again.
yeah. Commandante discarded Smeagol to take a card into hand, which at least then makes sure that you have a full hand for Golem to discard if needed.
Promise coming way too late. A light in his mind, not helpful. There's exactly 6 Twilight left. Here comes the
Yep.
Shelob.
Wow. Did he pull this off?
So you've got to use the file now, obviously. Is that skirmish phase? Yep.
Yeah, but still, how do you survive this? I
Yeah,
think that's probably
all
it.
those cards are going to go +2 strength. So that's going to be 8 more strength for Golem. Oops. Chance encounter.
I wonder if he has. Oh man, all these pumps.
You still got
Wow.
6 more strength from here. Yeah, that's what are you
Whew.
going to do? The
What a
only thing that could have
game.
possibly saved him would be like a Tale of the Great Ring. There's
Yep.
nothing else. Not a single other thing. Are there any other matches still going? Yep, a bunch of them are, but a few of them are
That was
not.
wild.
What a game.
Yeah, let's
Refresh both of
see
these and
where we
see what we
jumping in
got.
on here.
So we got Lorio versus Distale, and we've got Wingfoot versus Mock. That's a lot of that's a lot of sites that have been controlled. We're looking here at two two sites left, and we got somebody in Region 3 already.
Sorry, I'm just getting the right game open here. I clicked the wrong one. This is Lorio that we're looking at? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean I've got both of them, so I could switch back and forth.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm trying to look at my. I'm on my phone for the sound part of Discord, but then I'm on my computer for actually viewing the games because it's too small on my phone.
Right. Makes sense.
I should really just figure out how to get Discord on my computer. I'm sure it's not hard, but I'm too lazy to figure it
you
out.
just download the exe and off you go.
Yeah. Okay,
so where does that actually, just for real quick, where does that leave us in the standings? So Commandant is the only one that has won twice so far.
We're gonna have 3 people though that are 2-0.
Yeah.
So that might create some complications at the end because I guess it's 4 rounds, right?
Yeah, 4 rounds.
Okay, that'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, these have been good games so far, though. I'm really pleased with how the matches have gone so far. And this looks like a nasty situation for D. Staley, although he has a massive Aragorn.
That's a constructed Aragorn right there. Look at that.
Yeah. Gothmog is 15 and Fears.
14, yeah. 12. Decipher version of Nartia.
I wonder, was this his first move? Like, did he just move from 7, or did he double from 6 to 8 here?
Hard to say. I just refreshed, so I can't even scroll back up to see.
Yeah, same. Hey, if this was his first move, that's a nice way to get rid of 2 minions for a potential double.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got Thrarin sitting in the support area as another extra body.
Backup, yeah.
Okay, keep him alive, yeah. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Do you try to double here?
Beyond a Sight 9. He's got quite a few bodies to throw at the problem.
Yeah, and you know, if Lorio draws another Gothmog here, it's just a dead card because you can't play a second copy.
And regardless of what he draws, that's a lot of well, not regardless, but that's a lot of minions that have gone down. So statistically speaking, he's more likely to have a handful of free people's
Free
cards
people
here.
stuff. Yeah. And he just discarded Gothmog in his Reconcile here, so he did have another copy. Yeah, this is decision time here. This is
So
big.
the question then is, did he have another copy? Oh nope, there goes the double. So
Yeah,
it was a good gamble
he
getting
might.
rid of that.
Yeah.
We've got Flames Within, we've got Tower Walkway, we've got more guy. Yeah, this isn't going to be enough. Thraren's going to
No,
take a
he.
hit. 3 others are going to take a
Yeah,
hit, and then Gothmog could take on whoever's on the last. Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
That's
That's a
game.
win for G. Staley. Nicely done there. It's funny that we got 3 mirror matches. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. The other one was Shelob versus Shelob. This one's Shelob versus Shelob. Although, look at that larder. My goodness. That's 6 tokens on larder. Well, we have 2 larders up here with 4 tokens. This is.
Wow.
Those are.
Yeah, and with them stacked on separate larders, you could, in theory, go strength plus 12.
Oh, yeah, because you can discard. Or. Oh, yeah, because it's a limit 6 per skirmish. I didn't even think about that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
he's
So that's actually
wing.
a better circumstance to have it set up. 6 tokens is nice, but you got to spread it out over multiple sites. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, when I played the deck in the league, I found I only played one larder because when I play Shelob, I always use her ability to pull web early on, and then I found I just almost never used both of the larders with how I had built the deck. But I can certainly see how it's effective to have both set up like this
Hmm.
in order to really put that overwhelmed threat on the board.
Now, Wingfet doesn't have any Shelobs coming out. I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
because,
interesting.
yeah, foil Orc
It might
Brood
still be enough to get a stop here though, because this is pretty tough to get through 4 minions.
with an exhausted Smeagol.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting too. You know, does he use that discardability? Oh, what does the spider poison do?
You have to exert each time that bearer is assigned to a skirmish, so just piling on the wounds, trying to get them to the
Interesting.
point where a promise isn't working, although they both got a decent amount of vitality. Now, where do you put
This
the
looks like
last orc?
this looks like a dead Smeagol to me because he can't even add 4 threats to discard himself against Golem.
Uh-huh.
So unless he's got some sort of unbelievable trick, which I can't even think of a card that he could have pulled from a pack that would save Smeagol here. This is interesting. I think he.
Stick it on Sam, wouldn't you? 7 and 11 up against the 7 strength Sam.
Well, Sam can't be overwhelmed unless he's tripled, while Frodo and Smeagol are out, though.
Okay, yeah, so he can control the order. Make sure the Smeagol dies last.
Yeah, the big thing here is, does Wingfoot like the 4 cards he has in hand? Because he could, in theory, put the Orc Brood with the other Sauron Orc on Frodo and discard 3 cards from hand to make him Strength plus 3, which would then put him at. Oh, never mind, there's Orc Armor. So I was going to say he'd be at 16 to overwhelm, but they'd only be at 14 with the Orc Armor.
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters too much where you put him. Yeah, that seems fine. If they do the order of the skirmishes wrong and kill off Smeagol, then
Yeah,
that would create some
let your
issues.
opponent make a mistake, but Mock's no slouch. He hasn't
No.
made it to the
Uh-oh.
finals or anything, but oh, here we go. We've got
Interesting. So he did that to heal.
so now he takes a wound from Gollum instead of dying.
Wow, but Golem can just discard here, I think, right? Discard a card from hand.
He could if he's willing to get rid of every card in his hand for Orc Brood.
No, but he only needs the +1 to overwhelm Smeagol here.
Right, but so he would have to get rid of one card here, and then if you wanted to have the 3 cards available for Orc Brood.
Oh, I see what you're
Oh,
saying.
he just used a larder token. He was hoping that worked on on a Golem minion. So he does end up getting rid of one card now. So now he's got exactly 3 in hand if he wants to try and use that on Brood. One threat goes
Ooh,
down.
this was not the right order of the skirmishes, because now Sam
Yeah,
might be in some trouble.
yeah, should have done Sam first, like we were talking about. But yeah, he messed up the order
Yeah,
there. I think didn't. I think he didn't realize the importance there of Sam not getting
yeah.
overwhelmed because
Oh, he's got the orc armor. At
he's
least that's
also got Orc
helping.
Armor. But Orc Brood, you can go for the kill, discard the other 3 cards in your hand.
Yeah, this is a big decision moment. Okay, he's going to go for it. I think that I probably would go for it too.
You gotta try because if he's got no more resources, he's down to 4 cards in hand. Using the file for what?
Yeah, it won't make a difference. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
big decision though to get rid of those 3 cards because he had chance observation, severed his bonds, and a companion. So he got rid of a decent amount of free people's protection on his own side to be able to
yeah.
do that. But it's definitely the right choice when you get the kill.
So Mock recognized, yeah, the mistake that we just observed. Yeah,
And that's an easy one to make. You know,
yeah. You get
you
used to, oh
calculated
yeah, he
everything
can't be
out.
overwhelmed, and then you think,
Yeah.
well, actually, it really depends on that other guy still being alive. Looks like the game between Destali and Lonio did end up ending. Oh right, yeah, because we had already written that one off. Because yeah,
Yeah.
there was no
Is this
error
the
there.
last one going? Yeah, this is the last one right now.
All that without a single Shelob. But now
Yeah.
everybody's going on the webs, and so
Yeah, it feels like Shelob's going to end this game when it comes out.
yeah, there's still 2 more sites to go for Mock. I think we were talking about thematic decks. We have our web covered Frodo here, all alone, no Sam beside him. Smeagol's abandoned him, and there's a spider somewhere. Yeah, this is about as thematic as it could get. He's even got Sting, like he's got on
Yeah.
the card. If only he had the file, this would be like the perfect. And he's got spider poison. My goodness, this is just.
I know, I was just reading that one too. He jumped the gun a little bit on the orc armor, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll forgive him for that one. Yeah, I don't know how Mock would be able to get out of this without some crazy cards that he might have pulled, but
You'd need to
yeah,
draw
it's
at
not.
minimum like a bounder, uh, Tail of the Great Ring would help
Calendar.
at least for
Yo, a
one.
tail would be huge. Yeah. He's already lost 5 companions. I imagine he doesn't have many more.
Yeah. Although you never know. Like if he drops 4 companions at the very end, that would be enough to drag his butt out of the fire.
True. Yeah. Yeah, it's a real shame losing that file in a non Shelob skirmish.
Yeah. And it didn't even do anything. He took the file and tried to use it like a club to hit the Nork in the face, and he's just like, "What? What are you doing? That's I don't understand this elvish crap."
Yeah. They call this a weapon? Looks like Vertigo is dropping.
Oh no. Oh wait, where to go? Sorry.
Yeah. After the close match that he had with Commandante.
Yeah. Yeah, I had them mixed up, and I thought Commandante was dropping, and I was like, oh, but he's he's slaughtering his
He's
way
2
through
0.
this. He can't stop now. There's more people for Shelob to eat.
Yeah.
Where's
It's funny with this Shelob version. I remember trying to make competitive constructed decks with it, and it just is awful in constructed because people just don't let you stack orcs, or they just discard your webs, and it basically turns into 8 cost minion for 8 strength.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? At some point, I'm going to make a league or a tournament here where you can use this as a viable card.
So what kind of things were you see, like what kind of cards were getting rid of all the webs for that? Because that, I mean, that would have to be like Roll of Thunder, right? Or
Yeah, Roll of Thunder's the big one in movie.
Derafin?
Trying to think what
Is he
else.
one of the other
There's
ones?
there's like Arrow Slits, I think, is the one for Rohan.
So Derafin can get rid of a possession. He's the one that gets splashed a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. He would just destroy any Shelob web deck.
Arrow Slits, I think, is for conditions. Oh no, a possession or a machine. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so there's a few. There's just too many things in different cultures that work perfectly fine to absolutely dismantle the shadow.
Because I was going to suggest if it was getting rid of a bunch of conditions, we're actually in the process of doing that hinder rework
File?
finally to get rid of, or at least dramatically tone down things like sleep core address and such. But it sounds like that's not the sort of thing that was affecting you here.
It looks like he had a second file that he pulled in his packs though.
Oh well,
That's pretty big.
Aomer, you're ruining the vibe here, but that's
Yeah. Now we're right on theme. Yeah. Yeah, so he chucks the file here. He stays alive. Both.
However, you still
Well, I guess it
have
depends on
6,
what else
7,
he's
8, and
played.
9 strength from Larder.
You're right. And then also the unabated in Malice.
Oh, and all these orcs
Yeah,
are
so this
coming
might
out.
just be game anyway.
Yeah, too many bodies.
I wonder if it's going to come into play using that larder token for nothing if he needs the extra 3 at some point.
Oh, that would be such a tragedy. He doesn't assign Shelob. Interesting. Just saying, yeah, whatever, Spider, you go do whatever you want. Actually,
Yeah,
that does force him to make a decision, right? Do you go for the Air Mercure first?
right.
Because I mean, if you
Yeah,
do
and he
that,
made
then
it so
file can't be used for the very. Well, no, yeah, may as well just throw him on Frodo. Force him to use the file.
yeah, make him have some sort of trick.
Oh, he doesn't
Okay, he
even
doesn't
bother.
have it.
He just knows. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a bit too much Spider for me. All
Well,
right.
well
Well,
played by Wingfoot there.
Shelob's Web doing work this tournament.
Yeah, this is great. I am still stunned that we don't have anyone except for I can't remember who it was playing the Gorbag deck though.
Mm-hmm.
That's very surprising to me.
You got to follow the spiders.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've shown that it's a very workable archetype. Like none of these have been slouches. They've done their job.
Okay, so what's happening here? We're going into
Yep.
round 3 here?
Just had
Right?
round
Oh, they
3
all just
pop
launched,
up.
I see.
Yep.
So, okay, D. Staley and Commandante is the only 2 undefeateds.
Okay.
Wingfoot is still undefeated, but he's playing FNL Groove, and he, I think, lost in the first round, if I remember correctly.
Who are you talking about? Wingfoot versus FNL Groove. Wingfoot's undefeated. Yeah, we have 3 undefeateds: Distale, Wingfoot, and Commandant.
So this is interesting because obviously whoever wins D. Staley and Commandante is going to be in the final.
Mm-hmm.
And then if Wingfoot wins, he plays the winner of that one. But if
Mm-hmm.
FNL Groove wins, then someone with 1 loss is going to make the final as well.
Yep. And so that will, yeah, it's probably going to be coming down to these one of these tiebreakers. So for the tournaments, we actually use an adjusted system that we came up with. Traditionally on GEMP, opponent win percentage was the tiebreaker that was used for everything. But while opponent win percentage works fine for leagues where you have lots and lots of people and lots of games being played, as you can see, these numbers are not very good. Like a flat 50%, flat 33.3%, they're not very good tiebreakers because they often end up colliding and having the exact same number. So we've got a system where we use the modified median calculation that is commonly used in chess and such as the first tie. Or actually, the very first tiebreaker is whether or not if you are tied with somebody that you played against during the tournament, then if you won that game, then you win that tiebreaker. Like it just obviously makes sense that if you beat that person, then you are you have the edge on them. But if
Yeah, as you should.
yeah, but if that doesn't happen, which I doubt that tiebreaker will come into play here, then modified median score becomes what you're tiebroken on, and then cumulative score after that, and then finally, if all of those things manage to tie, then we fall back on an opponent win percentage. So
right,
quite a few tiebreakers now before that.
Yeah, this is interesting here. So we have, I think it's Gothmog versus Shelob for D. Staley versus Commandante, and also for Wingfoot versus FNL Groove.
I'd bring that one forward because these two are the winners of these two games are the ones that are going to end up going up to the highest level. It's not that we don't love the rest of you, but you're weak. I am going to step away. We probably should try to put in a system for breaks or something because
yeah, it's
like Commandant already had to go make a bathroom run, and I'm going to do the same myself. So I'll be back.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, I'm watching a different game on my other screen here. So let me get to the right game here. Okay. So D. Staley bid to go first, which is interesting. Two webs pretty early. Larder coming down. It'll be interesting to see if D. Staley has a way to overwhelm the Isengard worker. It doesn't look like it here. Oh, never mind. He has the way to get rid of him. That's smart. You definitely want to be preventing any of the orcs from stacking as much as possible when you're playing against the Shelob deck here. He will obviously get Golem stacked though, but that always feels like it's inevitable to happen. It's interesting he didn't double there. I think despite the wounds, there was maybe he already went 1-3. That's obviously what happened if I had thought about it for a little longer.
I am back. What did I miss?
Nothing. Just D. Staley prevented an orc from being able to be stacked through winning the skirmish and exerting Sleepless Dead to discard him.
Nice.
So yeah, good prevention of the web stacking, which is pretty key in this matchup. Yeah, having the Legolas on the Shelob side is actually quite nice, because in the early sites, you're often choking the Twilight quite a bit, and getting that one wound can often lead to being able to win a skirmish and then killing a minion and then setting up a double that way. So it's nice to have that extra archery wound early on, and then it's just a body for you to kill off when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I didn't put any 6 companion control in any of these decks.
Naturally, for sealed.
Yeah,
that would
right. But I also feel like Shelob naturally turns into that. So
yeah. What's this? More meals?
yeah.
Yeah, this is getting to be quite the build-up over here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Anduin Banks has any impact on this. Okay, interesting. 2 copies of Orc Savage is quite relevant. Although I doubt it'll get any kills. Okay, that's also not too bad, having some potential discard of weapons.
And there's more than 5, so that'll be every weapon on the field if he survives.
Yep. Yeah, although I guess these Orc Savages combined with the Anduin Banks is going to cause some issues and some interesting math in these skirmishes.
That's true. So that's a floating +6 that can be
Yeah.
applied to either one of these. So that would be a total of 24, which
And
is
Mortal
enough.
Slayer is huge here too.
Oh yeah. So if you don't win this skirmish, then he's going to take out Denethor
Mm-hmm.
or anybody else, juicy that's still sticking around. And then all 4 of these are going to go on a web.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if you just kill Denethor with one of the Orc Savages.
Yeah, like you may as well.
This is a
unless you
pretty
really
good.
want that Sanctuary deck drawing from Denethor, but nope, looks like he came to that same conclusion that the Slayer was just gonna slay him.
Give him the boot.
That's going on as burdens. What are you doing, man? Oh dear. Both of them went on. 3 of them went on.
Well, no one quite. Oh, for the sight. I see what you're saying. Yeah, he's.
That's now 12 strength that's floating around.
Yeah, I think
Aragorn's
he
dead.
forgot about
Aragorn's
that.
going to be overwhelmed. I know that he thinks that he's safe with this garrison of Osgiliath, but
yeah, here it is. Here he's gonna make sure that he doesn't lose the Isengard Smith to the discardability of the Sleepless Dead here, and then the rest is probably going to kill his Aragorn.
And now the Slayer's going to be able to kill that. Yeah, that was absolutely a misplay. He should have chosen even just putting all those wounds on the ring bearer would have been preferable.
Yeah, and he says in the chat there,
"Oops,
I really did that poorly."
He missed the sight. And normally, I think that people are very, very. I feel like in King Block or in movie, people tends to not have a whole lot of burdens around this time. It's only on Site 4. So I think it's easy to overlook the benefit of that site. But yeah, with these massive minions, losing your Aragorn to a mistake on where you put your threats, that's rough.
That is painful.
Yeah, Commandant. Yeah, I was shocked. And Shelob hasn't even arrived yet. Yeah, this is a devastating sight. He's gonna lose.
That hurts.
Yeah.
And this is the only deck that gets Anduin Banks. The other ones don't play it, so it's easy to forget about it.
And Distali's been up against mirror matches, hasn't he? So he's.
I think so, but he's going to lose Sleepless Dead here from the Mortal Slayer as well, which is massive because having an 11 strength companion is big. Oh, he's even going to go for an overwhelm here.
May as well. Why not? So I mean, if you can't. Trying my hardest to keep your orcs off the webs. Well, it ain't gonna.
I don't know how that's gonna happen.
Yeah, so that's gonna be another dead knight. Slayer's gonna kill the wraith. The Smith.
Oh, he should be able to. He can save it though. He can save Ingold. I forgot about the garrison there.
But forces him to burn it. So there's that at least.
Yeah.
That's now good.
Yeah, and you might as well use the burdens. You don't really have much other purpose for them.
Oh, but here we go. Guarded, getting rid of all those Sauron orcs. That is actually huge. That
is massive.
I think that pulls him up to a neutral or almost neutral position because if all those orcs had gone on the web, that would have been devastating.
Yeah,
that almost would have been game, but that at least.
Pretty much, yeah. If you have a dead Sleepless Dead and all those stacked orcs, you're already
so that prevented the Slayer from really getting that last hit in. Yeah, so that's
that was a pretty big swing for sure.
Yeah. Whew, so much excitement here in the top tier match. What do we got going on Wingfoot versus FNL Groove? How's it looking? FNL Groove dealing with a Shelob that's not all that. Got one web, but nothing on it.
Yeah, interesting. Nothing set up yet for Wingfoot.
All the way on Site 4 already, and there's nothing there.
I did have one game where, despite having 4 copies of Shelob in the deck, I didn't find it until Site 7, the first copy.
That's painful.
And I just had to run with the Hobbits. It's sometimes you get those bad draws, and you just gotta do what you can.
Doing a quick hop through some of the other games that's going on. We've got a massive fellowship on the side of Weak Sauce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 companions on the table, with nothing in the debt pile yet. One of those being a Lendil, and the other one being a Sealdur. Elrond and Ent. Yeah, that's a fairly hefty fellowship here, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the right way to play the Sauron deck on the Fellowship side, though. Just try to balloon up with your companions as quick as possible. And then, yeah, the Foes of Mordor condition is pretty big in this matchup as well.
Oh yeah, exert a Gondor character to wound a Sauron minion. You could do that during maneuver. You could take out Gothmog. If he's going to be killing somebody anyway, then spend some vitality to wipe him off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and it can help you prevent sites from being controlled if you get it early enough. Although it looks like, 3 sites already
yeah,
controlled.
there's already 3 on the table. Yeah, it's a lost cause at that point.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. Accidentally used Elendil's ability. Maneuver, remove a Gondor token to make an unbound companion resistance +1 until the regroup phase. Not something that matters on the slightest, but I think it was clicking too quickly. It meant to do Foes of Mordor and then exert Elendil. Instead, he lost one of the tokens on Garrison of Osgiliath.
Yeah.
So that's an annoying misplay. And we have Might of Numenor being used, only revealing a measly 2-cost card.
Yeah, not too bad though. 2 wound heal, especially when you can do some Foes of Mordor stuff. Like this might be able to set up a double here potentially, if you want to commit to either taking more wounds with Gothmog or using 4 exertions with Foes of Mordor to double to the Sanctuary.
I find it interesting that he killed the siege troop instead of killing Gothmog, who's fierce.
Right.
That doesn't quite... I mean, you're spending 4 vitality either way. Why would you use it
Yeah, maybe
on the... Like maybe it's just, I don't want him to control 2 sites. Well, he can't control 2 sites, bro. They're already controlled.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's... I'm not so sure about that decision.
I wonder if the play in doing that, you're preventing another Gothmog from being dropped and then still having the pair to deal with if you double. That's the only thing I can think of.
Though he's looking
I guess
a little worse for the wear here.
This is pretty good though. So he's exerting Elrond to put Forearmed back on top of his draw deck for later, which is good. He'll kill the minion here. In the regroup phase, he'll be able to use Aeglos to do 3 wounds on Gothmog. He can double. Another Gothmog still can't be played because it's unique, and then he just has to do 1 exertion with Foes of Mordor in order to clear him from the board entirely. So let's see if he does that. I certainly would. He decides to stay. Okay. I think that's a missed opportunity there.
Yeah, I think perhaps he realized that he made that mistake and then didn't necessarily see the path to victory there to at least make it worthwhile.
Oh, you know what? No, I'm the one who missed it. It's Vilya. It's not Aeglos.
Oh, yeah. Well, with no Aeglos, then yeah, that whole thread just doesn't.
The whole line doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I got excited over nothing. Oh well.
Botneck saying something from a while ago. Sorry, I'm really, really bad at following the chat. The problem I had with Gorbag's deck in League was the wounding part. There's not that many ways to stack them with only 4 Nazguls and Sanctuary Healings. So I think that's commenting on why people perhaps might not be using Gorbags this time around. That looked appealing because, of course, Morgul Orcs, why not? But perhaps in execution it just did not quite feel good to a lot of people. Although you mentioned that the people in second and third got it, but used it. I mean,
yeah, I guess it depends too if you're pulling any Rohan stuff. I think it was Sempol who finished in third with the Gorbag deck, and he had some really good synergies on his Free People side that complemented the deck quite well.
Looks like poor Wingfoot is still struggling to get anything on any of his webs. Shelob is still
Yeah,
strength 8 at site 5.
that is not what you want. What's interesting is that FNL Groove still only has 4 companions though, and no one's died.
Well, I mean, when your Shelob's that wimpy, there's not much to force you to die.
That's true.
A heavy chain over here on Devorin, so that'll be
Heavy
useful.
Chain is massive in the matchup against Shelob.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive. I
So
played a
even once he
game.
starts to finally get stuff on these webs, it's going to be a while before Shelob can actually get going because of stuff like that.
Yeah, like this feels like a game where Wingfoot's gonna have to run with his Free People side to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going a little bit too slowly. No one dead yet on either side.
And yeah, and FNL Groove is setting up the 4 cards in hand right now so that he'll be able to discard a minion with Dervorian.
So at that point, you may as well get rid of Shelob, make it so that she can't be stacked on a web, and then move on forward to the Sanctuary. Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy. It's not often you can prevent the Shelob deck from setting up at this rate.
Yeah. So in the Distali vs. Commandant game, we've got Gothmog being a terror. Also got 3 sites controlled over there. We've got Beaten Back being played, just to rub it in.
Yeah.
Commandant saying that he's got 4 Shelobs in 23 cards and hasn't drawn them yet.
Wow.
So, okay, well, yeah, he's really set up down here. It's looking pretty good,
That's
but
one
he hasn't drawn any Shelobs.
that's incredible. That's one way to kind of get screwed over with the Shelob deck. If you don't draw it, you just run into problems. And having 2 minions stacked on this Teeth of Mordor is also an interesting setup.
Oh yeah, and you can see that the wounds have really been piling up. They've been
Yeah,
transformed into burden so far, but that's very quickly going to run out as a resource. Now it looks like Sam is being set up to catch the ring, though. He's got all the good material, so Frodo's likely
right.
to get sacrificed here in the near future on Commandant's side. Here we go,
There's the
Shelob
first
coming
one.
out for the
Okay.
first time.
Wow.
So those webs that came out were naturally drawn,
Yeah.
not played by Shelob.
Yeah, this is interesting. Is it too slow of a setup?
I mean, I think that if because of the fact that Shelob can play her own webs, if you draw her early, then just getting 1 copy early means that you're filtering 2 of those cards out of your deck very quickly and getting them on the board and getting them set up. But drawing
Hmm.
them naturally to play them is just a much slower thing
Yeah.
to be doing, because now that's 1 less slot in your hand that could be potentially an orc that you're stacking. I imagine that both of
Yeah.
these Shelobs are running into that problem this particular round. Where's that other
Yeah,
one?
it's quite interesting to see both of them struggling to set up at all on the shadow side.
Yeah.
This is going to be. I wonder what D. Staley's going to do here. Do you try to double? Like even with the wounds. Oh, is he just killing off Sleepless Dead here? Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, he's not set up on the Free People side by any means either.
Mm-hmm.
Losing that Aragorn was pretty massive.
Yeah.
Like he's got 4 dead companions already. So
And I think that there's also
that
the mental aspect there of making a big mistake that loses you someone like Aragorn, then rattles you for a while. So
yeah.
it can result in a kind of a domino effect of making poor decisions.
Yeah, they say that the most common um, predictor of a player making an error is the player having previously just made an error.
Yeah. I totally get it.
This is an
3 cards
interesting.
being drawn off Orc Captain. Yeah, things are not looking good for Commandant though. Like on his free people side.
Yeah, they're hurting. I do like the Cursed of Arech though. That's a nice body there for 11 strength.
Yeah, decent body. No Gondor companion, unfortunately. Or no, you need another Wraith to make him Defender +1.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
but
tall
still
order.
having that 11 strength is nice to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he probably didn't have anything in his hand to save him, so he has to use the there and back again.
Pumping up Sam and Frodo to pretty decent levels. Now they'll both be able to take on the Orc Captain and the Orc Infantry, so you sacrifice.
Yeah, and
Who's
he can
going
kill the
first?
Orc infantry here and not have another site controlled from
Oh,
it,
nope.
which
So
is
he's going to
important.
have Sam go up against Gothbog and just tank it because he's got the Orc armor to keep him safe.
Right.
So now do you sacrifice Legolas or someone? Nope. Sam just takes another hit on the nose. Now doing
Okay.
so is dangerous. Now he's exhausted, and both of these +1 strength from a promise is now no longer in play. So he just lost 2 strength from both Sam and Frodo by doing that. Although they are at the sanctuary, so maybe that's not so big a problem.
Yeah.
Heal up.
Yeah, he'll just heal up, I guess.
So
This
he
is going to be
just
interesting
squeaks
here.
in.
I assume Commandante is going to have another Shelob in hand. It doesn't have to use the stacked one. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. He's down to only 12 cards in the deck. Surely he's. In fact, he's probably looking at like 3 copies of them and going, dang it, why weren't these
Right.
spread out a little better?
The big turning point here is going to be, does D. Staley have any tricks in his hand to be able to save Knight of Dol Amroth at least through one skirmish? And it looks like the Shelob can get up to 26 with the Larder, and then what would Unabated and Malice would get him an extra 3, I think. So he could be up to 29.
For each culture, you can spot 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
So in theory, can the Knight get up to strength 15 to stay alive? He does have Knight Spear, which gets him 2.
It's a dangerous
Okay,
game to be
Dagger
adding
Strike.
threats to give yourself strength, though.
Yeah.
Because if he loses that particular joust, then that's threats you just immediately got to put on your companions.
This is interesting here. He might just be content with forcing him to use up all his extra resources here. Oh, he does have a pump again here, too.
Yeah, I think that Unabated probably should have been used before that token on the Larder, just in case, but. No.
So he can survive it, though.
He squeaks it out and causes Commandant to use all those resources.
Yeah, that feels bad as a Shelob player.
Yeah.
When your deck is as low as it is, you're not stacking anything else on Larder for the rest of the game, I would imagine.
Yeah. All those threats end up as burdens. Shelob scurries with her tail between her legs back to her web.
He's still loading up the Larder. That surprises me. He must
Go
have a
big
lot
or
of
go
works in
home.
hand. I'm assuming a big drop at Site 8 if he's willing to throw stuff away here.
Now, he did have that absolutely enormous swarm last game. It's quite possible that he's just setting himself up.
Yeah, maybe he's saving all those 1 and 2 cost forks.
Yeah, so what did he discard? Oh, that's the Reconcile. Although the fact that he got rid of Chance Observation, it felt pretty safe. Nope, Isengard Shaman's going out, so those are both 1 cost. Huh. So maybe
I'm
he's
stunned.
not gonna
I probably would have held those. But he's a good player. I trust what he's doing.
Yeah, he probably knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's hard to make that judgment when you can't see the hand.
Yeah, and in fact, I've often wondered if we ought to try and make that more of a feature. Like if we could have like a commentator role, so it's not just literally anybody, but people that are doing streams or whatever for these big official events. Try to
Yeah, we'd have to do it on delay though.
yeah, so that you literally can't just look over and see what's in their hand, and even that gets a little like where do you cut it off? Because if someone's got a card that they've been holding on to for however many sites, so I
Right.
see it early, that could make all the difference.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That'll be a big.
Oof.
Not quite enough to get up to overwhelm, but
Enough to make him clench, though.
you know what's
Interesting.
interesting? Yeah, you know what's interesting too is I'm realizing, um, who was it? Someone was using a different version of the Sam, so he couldn't be overwhelmed. It was Mock. Mock was using the Sam that can't be overwhelmed unless his strength is tripled if you can spot
Mm-hmm.
Frodo and Smeagol, which isn't the one that automatically comes in the deck.
Right.
That's interesting.
I'm not sure that I understand. Oh, it was to keep him from being fierce. All right.
Yeah.
So it burns us. Well, hang on. So spot Sam and Smeagol. To choose an opponent must reveal his or her hand. Wound a minion X times, where X is the number of different cultures revealed. Okay, so he got a good look at what's there. Siege Troop, Sword Armor of the White Tower, Pippin, Dagger Strike.
Well, that's a pretty good free people's hand, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That might entice him to consider doubling, but I guess not.
Top decks of Theron. Theron.
Yeah, this is interesting because he's got stuff to stay alive again. He can probably live another skirmish with the knight. Okay.
Here's that swarm.
Okay, that's pretty relevant. Thrarin might be quite useful here.
Mm-hmm. First level. First level is probably going to go on one of these guys, and the Turgon will exert to knock him out. Yep, there goes. What? Oh, he's got to do it twice. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
I thought
And
perhaps
then you
maybe there
just
was a
kill him.
Goblin Armory or something keeping him alive. I was like, what's blocking
Right.
the wound? But no. Okay, so they're safe. Thrarin can
This is
take a
nice.
hit. 23
Yeah, you
strength Shelob is not nearly as good as what we've seen at this same point in other games, but
No, he's going to be able to just kill one companion here. He'll probably put the first skirmish on the knight for Shelob, and then the second one probably kill off Turgon, is my guess. Or maybe you just kill Pippin. I don't know. I don't think it really matters too much.
yeah. 5 strength
But he
isn't
should.
helping y'all that much. Especially now that
No.
Shelob is finally starting to have the rubber hit the road.
Yeah, this is interesting though. So he's maxed out on companions. D Staley is. He's 5 in the dead pile, 4 out there. So nothing else is coming.
Hmm.
But
So
if you're
actually, yeah,
surviving,
every body matters then.
yeah. But if you survive with 3 companions and you still have Thrarin, that's pretty hard for Shelob to get a kill on a single move from 8 to 9.
Hmm.
So it might force Commandante to consider trying to go Site 7 to Site 9 on his Free People's turn.
There's only 4 cards left in Commandant's deck, however, so whatever he does, he's
Oh
going to go
yeah.
with 7 cards for the rest of the game.
Huh.
That's probably down to web stacking no larder stacking. I mean, using it to discard a whole bunch of orcs that he never
Right.
actually got to play. So yeah, like you called, the Thrarin is going to be held in reserve. Pippin's going to go down, and then one of the knights is going to go down.
I think he's going to be able to live with the Knight of Dol Amroth here. Because he's got some pumps in his hand and he has the Knight Spear too.
We got the dagger strike, we got the knight spear. So that's 2 threats out to get him to strength 11. Dagger strike brings him up to strength 13. There's larder, though. Sword arm with the white tower. Got another larder. Commandant
Yeah,
is probably feeling deja vu, though. Oh, yeah, he lets it go. He'd rather keep the that
yeah, he
plus
could.
3 in reserve. He didn't want to risk that there was another pump in those 3 cards. Because it'd be worth it if you get the kill, but if you don't get the kill, then it's really not.
This is interesting here. He stacked everything. I would have been tempted to just leave some of those orcs out and not even give him an idea of doubling there, but he stayed anyway.
And I find it interesting that he stacked the Shelob. He's already got 2 copies of Shelob on web. You'd think you'd leave that out and then dare him to move. Because now there's 3 Shelobs hugging together on the same web. Did I mute you? Are you there? There we go.
Apologies, I gotta step away for 1 second here.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay, so teeth being used to pull out some of those orcs that were held in reserve. Yet even more sites being controlled. Gothmog coming back out. He's a strength 13. Must wound a companion for each site you control. It's 5 wounds going down. Legolas takes the hit. Threat wound. Yeah, threat wound being used on the Cursed of Eric. This is not looking good, actually. I think Distali is finally going to get that shadow win on Commandant here. We have a lot of very scary orcs. We have an almost dead Frodo. For that matter, an almost dead Sam. Neither one of them has access to a promise because they've both been exhausted. Smeagol is sitting here exhausted. Tail of the Great Ring being used. Oh no, not Tail. There and back again. Pumping them up, both getting that +2 strength that they lost from their promise. We're going to need every last bit to get out of this. I'm not sure that there's a line here because, yeah, you're forced to let the shadow player assign 15 strength. Frodo's only got 3 resistance, meaning that only 2 more wounds can be converted into burdens, and you have to hope that there's no pumps or anything with Gothmog here. So you could use these 2 to take out Sam, or to put 1 on Sam and 1 on Frodo, so that if Frodo tries to self-sacrifice to toss the ring to Sam, there's already way too much strength on Sam's side. Botnik in the chat says this is funny because this is exactly how Commandant decks look in most games. Swarm orcs on clutch sizes. And Distali always plays big free peoples with a bunch of possessions and conditions. So even with the sealed, their particular personalities are still coming on through. Mosdru says, I feel like everyone is playing Gothmog. I want to meet Shelob in the last match. Oh, is Mosdru... Yeah, Mosdru's over here on one of the lower ends. Looks like all the games are finished, except for Distali versus Commandant. Looks like they did end up splitting the orcs, like I mentioned, making it difficult for there to be a way out. Sevator's Bond's coming out, giving him just enough strength to not get overwhelmed. Are there any pumps on the shadow side? Nope, but that wound gets turned into a burden. And then we have a Sam. That one event was enough to keep him in.
I'm back. What did I miss?
All right, so Commandant is squeaking by the skin of his teeth. There were a whole bunch of besiegers played here. Oh, Sam does end up dying, though. Not anything to keep him alive. And we have ourselves
he's not going to be able to kill him. He won't be able to kill D. Staley, though.
It's site 8. The next time the
Yeah, he's gonna
Gothmog
pull
gets
it off.
played, that's dead Frodo. Because he's only got 2 resistance left, and he's got no vitality left. All his friends are dead.
It reminds me of this cup I have that has a picture of a dinosaur that says "All my friends are dead."
Yeah. Commandant calls it GG.
Yeah, he's only got the
Well,
Golem and the Shelob here, and it won't be enough.
oh yeah, because Thraren's still on the table. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow,
So
what
he
a game!
managed to, yeah, he just managed to squeak out a Frodo not getting killed, and that just wasn't enough. He needed one more orc. One or two more orcs.
Yeah,
Yeah, what a
crazy.
game. What a
That
game,
was
what a
our
game.
last game. Let's see. Wingfoot did beat FNL Groove, so we're gonna have Wingfoot versus D Staley in the final here. Commandante saying good luck in the final. That's nice of him.
Yeah, good sportsmanship. He absolutely devoured a bunch of people getting up here, but it was, yeah, that was a well fought match there at the very end. All
Yeah,
right.
I think Commandante got pretty unlucky not getting the Shelobs before the last 25 cards or whatever.
Yeah, that's
After D Staley
devastating.
made that big, yeah, the big error on site 4, kind of got bailed out by that shadow draw.
Commandant all the way down to 0 cards in hand and deck. Destelli himself sitting at 0 cards in deck. They both ran their decks dry into the ground. But yeah, so here in a moment we will
Crazy.
see Destelli versus Wingfoot, and I think we'll follow that match from start to finish. And then we will also see Commandant going up against someone else, whether it's Mock or Monsdrew. And then we've
It
got,
looks like he just dropped from Commandante dropped.
okay, makes sense. I mean, he made it to the
Yeah, at this
end.
point he knows he's not going to win the thing.
Yeah.
So we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players still playing.
Okay, so we have Domgan versus Lorio, Monsdrew versus Mock, Weak Sauce versus Karam, and of course, Destelli versus Wingfoot.
So we got another repeat of the Shelob versus Gothmog matchup.
Yeah.
This is way more Shelob than I anticipated seeing.
This tournament has far too many legs and eyes.
Yeah, I was when I was looking at those stats of who chose what deck in the league for it, that you provided, and I will eventually be making a video about it a little bit here, but there were only 9 people that picked the Shelob deck, and about half those people didn't even play a game. So I think there were only about 5 people that actually played a game in that league with Shelob. So now it's funny to have this tournament run now, and I think there's more people playing in this tournament with the Shelob deck than actually played in the entire league of like 80 people.
That's the meta impact.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about meta and sealed as well is it's really easy for people to look at the first time a league gets played and say, "Oh, well, this deck is clearly the best." But then, as you know, as the meta is formed and people start thinking about, okay, well, how do I counter the Gothmog deck, or how do I counter the Shelob deck? Then other things start getting more popular, and then different cards become more popular, and
The
it's
meta
it's got the
marches on.
same sort of, yeah, it's got the same sort of changes that constructed has, um, just in sort of smaller wave, and it's quite interesting to watch. You know, even playing the Decipher sealed formats, you still see opinions changing on what deck to choose, even 20 years down the road here. You know what's crazy too is that I just said 20 years down the road, but we're creeping up on 25 years down the road.
Yep, 2001 was when Fellowship of the Ring was first released, and we're here in 2025. So at the end of 2025, no, end of 2026 will be the
Yeah,
25-year anniversary.
that's wild.
We should probably do something. We tried to do 20-year anniversary stuff for Fellowship, Towers, and King, and we completely failed and flubbed. The initial plan was to have V1, V2, and V3 each be the 20-year bash,
Right.
but the deadline slipped. So we'll
Well,
definitely
we
have to
can
do
just
something.
pretend that we were planning V3 for the 25th.
Oh right, yeah. Well, that if all goes according to plan, we will have that at very least in public testing by the end of this year, I think, which
Mm-hmm.
is significantly faster than we got V2 on the ground. But I think our tooling and the grand card rework has made it significantly easier to code cards. We've just gotten better at the process.
Yeah, it's nice that we can be a little more efficient with that too. That's if we continue to come out with these new sets, that's a huge portion of keeping things going.
Yeah.
This is interesting here because he's got Shelob, who's not very strong, but he does have Anduin Banks, so he's got 6 sort of float in there. I guess that's not too bad, but it looks like a real possibility of exhausting the knight. Hmm.
Yeah, surely both those burdens go into strength.
Yeah, I would expect it. It's a little. I wonder if he made a mistake of exerting. Oh, he's going to go to try to overwhelm. Okay, well, yeah,
Well, yeah, okay. At that point, it's not going to happen.
no.
That is a lot of resources being burned on an attempt to kill Shelob. Like, I do sort of get the I don't know, the bragging rights of saying, yeah, I
Well,
finally like.
not wanting to have Shelob get stacked is beneficial, but you're doing it at Anduin Banks with burdens up, so it doesn't make much sense to me.
And all those resources that you're burning, and you don't even pull it off. That's
I wonder if does he have more that he's going to kill him here? Looks like he's going for it, but again, there's still a burden.
that is so many cards that he has spent trying to stamp this spider out. Do you have 4 more strength?
No.
I mean, that's an impressive number of wounds on Shelob, but it doesn't matter in the slightest. Yeah,
In the end, she
I'm
crawls onto the web.
yeah. Now it does clear all those cards out of his hand.
Right.
Maybe he's hoping to get building up himself because he's got the besieger deck, and you've got all these sites that are not yet controlled. Maybe it was just
Yeah,
really
and
a matter of cycling all that garbage out so that he could.
it probably is, especially because he hasn't found any companions yet, and he desperately is going to need some going into Site 5 usually.
Yeah, so may as well try to go for the overwhelm on Shelob, but it just did not pay out. But it didn't matter because cycling was the goal.
Yeah. So again, those burdens are going to be relevant here. You can go up to 18 strength.
It's a pretty dangerous level. And that's going to be the first site getting getting controlled here from Troop Tower. Did Pippin discard himself? Interesting. I mean, I guess that keeps him out of the dead pile, so if he's got more than a few companions, he can keep throwing them on the pile.
Yeah, sorry, my son just came in the room here, so I've
Oh,
asked him
no
to play
worries.
quietly, but we'll see if that happens with a 3-year-old. So.
I get it.
He's doing pretty good though. So that's happy with that. Okay. Ooh, Siege Troop is a big boy. Did he just double? Did I miss that?
Did he? Yeah, I think he did. He discarded with the troop tower, and then yeah, he just kept going.
Interesting.
Mordor Pillager was able to nab it because of this int, adding a third Free People's Culture that could be spotted, and then Siege Troop is definitely going to be getting another one, so they'll be up to 3 sites controlled here by the end of this site. And there are probably some threats that are going to be thrown on the table.
Yeah. This is interesting too that Wingfoot opened up this version of Smeagol and decided to play this version over the default version. Because this one you can discard cards from hand to make Smeagol stronger.
Not that he did. Goodbye, Smeagol. Off in the tub pile. So here you definitely let him take the site, right? There's no point in adding threats. And you know that this guy's going to be able to take a site anyway, so yeah, there it goes.
And he killed off his Smeagol. Interesting. I got a bit distracted there and I missed it. So that's that's an interesting decision. I wonder how he built his deck. It might have been that he just didn't include all that many Smeagol cards, and he just wanted to use, Smeagol as a body with the discard ability to try and keep him alive.
Mm-hmm.
So he might just think, okay, Forest Guardian Strength 8 is better than keeping this crappy Smeagol around. This is interesting though. Still no companions for D Staley. So he's at least he got the Hobbit sword. That'll be pretty big for protection. But this is a tall task because you're going to be given a lot of Twilight this late in the game when you finally do find your companion.
Yeah. Shelob coming out and pulling a larder with her ability as opposed to another web, which
Interesting. I wonder if that means Wingfoot might have a hand full of forks that he just hasn't had the Twilight to use yet, and just wants to cycle and load
which
everything out
yeah,
there.
that's the other side of not having a whole lot of companions on the side of Distali. That not paying enough Twilight for you to be able to play your orcs to stack them on webs, so may as well stack them
Right.
somehow.
This is interesting too. He knows there's no way for him to pump Shelob, so he just figures, hey, I might as well take those as the ring bearer wounds or burdens.
So who does the spider poison go on? I was just about to say, do you stick it on Frodo, or do you try and stick it on the knight when that comes around?
Yeah, I wonder why. I would have probably saved it there.
Although that's more wounds that are getting piled up on the one guy that matters.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. I don't know. That's interesting though, because he still has all the burdens he can take, and at this point you're past site 4, so you got 9 burdens you can take.
Site ends up getting controlled by Shelob. People are wondering why there's a spider in the middle of Osgiliath. Does larder end up getting used? No?
Huh. Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay. He was just waiting for his opponent to pass. Got it.
Interesting. Only one time though. This is actually quite a decision here too. Do you just double into 6? Because you're only going to be giving up 8 Twilight total, um, which would be okay. Maybe you see a Shelob, but Shelob can't pull a web because you don't have the extra 1 to play the web. This is probably pretty doubleable right now.
It's fairly safe. You got a couple of fortifications if you really get surprised by something. You've got the extra vitality over here. You've got the ring. You could just start sticking burdens on here.
He does have he did use the larder one time, so he can pump Shelob up
Okay, yeah. So
to
I guess
14.
yeah. So Frodo's not safe anymore.
But still, if you, yeah, I wonder. He could use both fortifications, or do you have to exert the men? What is it? Or spot 3 knights? Yeah, oh, that's a problem. I guess not so much. You could exert both men to put 5th level on, and you could play 1st level on him, and that would let him. It would make him an 8 strength with only the ability to pump up to an 11 with the larder.
Yeah, there he goes. He decides he's going to risk it.
Ooh, unabated. That's big. That is not what you wanted to see if you're D Staley.
The risk did not pay off. That Shelob's now going to be able to come out and kill at least one person.
Yeah, unless he's got some other tricks in his hand, that was a pretty big pull.
Probably deciding whether he wants to do Shelob by herself or if he's got other orcs, try to just throw those orcs down and then stack them up on web. Although having 2 copies of Shelob on your web makes it really difficult to.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised that he's playing an orc here and not just throwing Shelob out again.
If he can get one more, there we go. Just now the banner bearer is at the sweet spot. Oh, okay, yeah, we're at 0 Twilight, so now he's both an archer and strength +3 still.
Yeah.
The companion is overwhelmed during a skirmish involving a Sauron orc, and threat wounds about to be placed, blah blah blah. It's not going to happen here.
I wonder why he's doing this.
Taking out the big boy.
It didn't seem like something you needed to do, though.
Well, he gets rid of the orc and now it can't be stacked. Well, except there's only 1 slot for the web anyway, so unless you're going to kill both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. All you've done is made your sanctuary healing less effective.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just thinking that there's more webs out there than there are. Yeah, this is. I'm assuming he's just going to put the gate veteran on the knight and then kill him. And okay, this is very much the opposite of what I expected. But
Whoa,
okay,
what?
he's going to
Why?
make sure he wins the skirmish, and then the knight's mount will finish off the veteran. Hmm.
But
Seems
then
like
you're
a
still
weird
going to
way
be
to have
left
gone
with just
about
one
that.
orc that's just going to go on the 1 slot on web. Like it's a.
Yeah. In the end, it didn't really change anything, but you used up a lot of resources.
Yeah. I'm not sold on the wisdom of that. It was impressive, but not
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah, I'm convinced he thought there was another copy of Web, but
Yeah, maybe looked down here and thought that one of those was. I mean, they're all pictures of sticky webs.
yeah.
Easy to get them mixed up. But I mean, that's what the hover-over's for, right?
Okay, Orc Captain draws 3 cards. Always relevant.
9-card hand. Only 3 Twilight to spend though, as they're moving over to more guide played.
This is interesting here. I feel like the play here, okay, I was going to say is put it on Frodo, and then you still have the option to double, and it heals. The Site 6 would heal your Hobbit companions if you decide to double.
I feel like that's probably a big risk with, like he had a lot of cards that he had drawn. The only reason he didn't play anything was because of lack of Twilight, though. If you
Yeah.
double, then you're going to be giving up that Twilight. And
yeah, and my play there probably would have been absolutely punished by him playing Beaten Back, and Frodo would have died. So
yeah.
good thing I'm not playing. Okay. Well, it feels like Wingfoot's planning on trying to get a shadow kill here. But I don't know, it's always a little scary when your opponent hasn't played any companions yet. You know they're in the deck. And having seen D. Staley's previous game, in the previous round there, we know he's got 9 companions. So,
And some of our
they're
big
gonna keep,
companions too, with Aragorn and
yeah, they're
whoever
gonna keep
else.
getting dropped. And if with Shelob, if you can't kill 2 every single time, you might run out of steam.
Here comes that second web. But no other orcs played, so
I'm confused by what's in Wingfoot's hand.
might have just gotten
Because if
screwed
he's
on a bunch of free people's cards, but you
it's
never know.
possible, but is he holding on to stuff to protect Frodo and Sam? But then, if you're doing that, I'm kind of surprised you don't try to double on the previous site when there's no Twilight left and only 1 minion out.
Yeah. While they're making decisions, let's hop over to some of these other smaller ones to see what's going on. We got Monster versus Mock. Monster got what he wanted. He wanted to go up against the Shelob deck, and here Mock is doing his thing. His web's looking much healthier.
Yeah,
Larder fully stocked. Looks like that was. Oh, Karam had to leave early, so their game just ended with not a bang but a whimper. Lorio up against Dongam. We've got this is the mirror match again of the two besieger decks. I mean,
yep,
Lorio not doing too hot, I think, here on site 8 with 2 companions, both exhausted.
yeah. That looks like a play a Gothmog and win the game situation.
Yep. Dongan's not looking too much better though. You have a couple more materials down here, but
Yeah, he does have Tail of the Great Ring. Lorio does. So if Lorio can somehow not, if he can dodge a Gothmog, maybe that wins him the game. This
yeah.
is an interesting situation too here, where he only has the one control site. Never mind. I was expecting a bunch of wounds to have to get placed there.
Yeah, that could have been devastating. That would have exhausted Frodo probably. But because they're doing that mirror match, they're both competing for the same resource of controlled sites. So hopping back over to Distali and Wingfoot. We have Wingfoot
It looks
healing
like
up at the sanctuary. Looks like that not much happened, I think.
D. Staley killed off the Sleeping Dead.
Hmm.
Shelob got killed. Other than that, though, pretty status quo. The interesting thing about the Shelob deck here in the Free Peoples is that you keep the Twilight so low that if you have 1 or 2 sort of tricks for the regroup phase or ways to kill a minion, like this is very much a position where if D. Staley can't keep some minions up on the board, it can set up a really easy double to 8, and then you have to kill him on a single move to 9, which is always harder to do. Okay, so Gothmog's going to be 3 wounds. This is interesting. It's funny seeing, Commandante was very fast.
Was very fast with what? Sorry. Sorry, you cut out there for a bit.
Oh, sorry.
Commandant was real fast with what?
With cycling through his deck, and he was out of cards in 2 of those games.
Yeah.
whereas Wingfoot is still sitting up at 28 cards in his draw deck right now.
And it kind of seems like the Stali is matching the energy of his opponent. That when he was up against Commandant, he was also sitting there at nothing left in his deck. But now that Wingfoot's going a little slower, so is he.
Yeah, I guess part of it too is that D. Staley hasn't found any of his companions, so there's just been so limited Twilight generation on both sides.
Mm-hmm. The Bane of Choke.
Yeah,
Helps nobody.
makes for it makes for an interesting matchup in this situation here, though, because it's not often what you see where the Gothmog deck doesn't have any companions really doing anything. But I still expect them to get dropped here, and then maybe he tries to double. And this is the big one here. This is the sort of crunch time for who's going to get that last or the next spot in qualifying for the final tournament.
Oh, that's massive. 3 companions
Yeah,
dropped all
and
at once. No more knights.
does he find another? Oh, he didn't find another one. But yeah, this is probably you set this up and you double. I imagine is the plan here.
You've got a giant Aragorn. Shelob's just not going to be able to do squat. 26
No, you
Twilight
got
on the table. You better hope that you've got a big ol' swarm just waiting in your hand. But yeah, time has
yeah,
run
you
out for
got
the Shelob deck.
yeah, you got first level, which you can put on in the maneuver phase. You can use Turgon to then also kill somebody most likely. I don't see how this doesn't turn into a double to 9. But if you can keep enough orcs on the board and maybe get a kill or two with Shelob. Oh, he plays that Shelob.
The Last Child version.
I don't like that play.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, she'll do more damage when she wins, but she's not going to have enough strength to be able to beat some of these big, beefy guys now.
I wonder if, well, okay, so if he pulled one of the Shelobs off of the web, then he's only got 2 things stacked, which means Shelob is 14 strength, with Larder can go up to 17 strength. So you put that on Aragorn twice, and you're not killing anybody. So at least if he goes this route, he can stack this Shelob on a web, and then on site 9 he could pull a slightly stronger Shelob. But I think this is just, you
Or
know,
potentially, well, I guess the other thing I was thinking was that if any wounds do get thrown around, then this Shelob does get built up a bit with her enduring. But
that's
it's
true.
probably
That's
not
true.
gonna even approach the strength of Eater of Light with some stacked webs. Yeah,
Yeah, and he
I
might be
think that
holding
what
some.
Wingfoot needs is probably sitting in in his deck.
It's possible. So he does have Golem to cycle through his hand to get rid of the cards he doesn't want, and it's also possible that he's holding on to a couple orcs maybe in hand that he doesn't want to die here, and he wants to be able to drop them all at site 9 for one last sort of big bomb.
Yeah, that's probably the play, is to use Golem as much as possible to ditch all of the ditch all the free people's cards that they happen to be holding. There goes a Morgul Axe. There goes a Sneaking. Yeah, there's no Smeagol on the board anymore on this side.
Morgul Axe is a
Where shall we
interesting
go?
card to include.
Is he stopping because he's winning the skirmish, or is he stopping because there's not any other cards that he wants to get rid of?
Yeah, it's quite possible he's sitting with 4 orcs in his hand.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
possible. Okay, interesting.
So now the question is, do you take another wound so that you're more enduring for next site, or do you use one of the tokens on Larder to get the damage +1, slapping 2 wounds on Aragorn?
I think you
Probably.
probably just take the wound.
Yeah, I think so. Because if you're building up for a swarm on the last site, then you want her to be nice and big. Nope, there he goes.
Yeah.
The damage +1 was too
My
enticing.
Yeah, my thought there is you take the wound, then you're at least 12 strength. So if in some miracle situation you have a fierce skirmish with Shelob on Frodo, then you can still overwhelm. But I don't really know any situation where you're going to kill 5 companions, so maybe it doesn't matter at all. Okay, so he's stacking because he's going to have plenty of Twilight anyway, so he's not worried about saving the minions out there.
Sorry in advance to the stream. I'm gonna need a minute to think about this. Honestly, I mean, he should think through all his
Sure.
options, but
Everyone's taking a little break. We're just building the suspense
yeah.
here.
And this is using the competitive timer, I believe. So
No, I don't think it
they should
did.
have. Oh, it didn't. Well, which timer is it using? I think that's just the regular competitive timer.
Yeah, I think they just got 40 minutes apiece, so something I might need to change for future tournament setups here.
Yeah, for official tournaments, for the World Championship tournaments, we have it set up so that you have 10 minutes between actions.
Right, and only 20 minutes on the clock, I think.
Right, exactly. So basically, you can use almost all of your time in a single go. Okay, so the competitive timer is 5 minutes per decision. So that should be
Yeah, if you're using more than 5 minutes on a decision, you're probably going to run out of your 20-minute total, most likely anyway. I've liked this change where it shows your, or maybe this was always here, but it shows your move timer.
Oh yeah, no, that is something that I added probably early last year. Specifically for World Championship stuff, so that because before it
Yeah.
used to be a complete mystery as to how much time you had left.
Yeah, I remember just having times where, you're agonizing over a decision and you've spent at least 3 minutes, but you don't really have an understanding how close you are to five.
Yeah.
And then eventually you just kind of make a panicked, well, I'll just click this button then and see what happens. And you don't really think it all through. Whereas with this, you can really count it down to that 4 minutes and 50 seconds or whatever.
So
And then,
Distali doesn't take the risk. He decides to stay.
oh, that is surprising to me.
It is surprising as well. However, consider that if Wingfoot has built up their hand full of shadow stuff, they did ditch a bunch of useful Free People's tools. So Wingfoot, I don't know, maybe he's looking down at that little, exhausted batch of companions and thinking that he's got a Gothmog in hand, he's got some stuff that he can use to really overwhelm that. Now, I totally
Yes,
understand the
certainly.
impulse because myself, I feel like if I win with Free Peoples, it doesn't count. I want a shadow
Right.
kill.
It's more
But
fun.
yeah,
When I started playing this game, I built decks only to get shadow kills because I was like, it's lame to win with your free people side. I'm only going to get shadow kills.
yeah.
But in a tournament, I never think that way.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, if you're looking for the win, you got to win however you can. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting here because if he does drop Gothmog, that's 3 wounds. Somebody has to die, and I don't know how he's going to be able to double. So maybe I shouldn't critique D Staley on not doubling there.
Oh, and I think I misread the site map anyway. I thought that that it was going to be a race to 9 on both sides, but it looks like he had to go from 7 to 8 Wingfoot.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like that is definitely. I can understand in that circumstance why Distali would think that, well, there is a possibility that he's holding onto a giant swarm, so I'm just not going to risk the giant swarm on site 9 when his fellowship is on its last legs and absolutely can't move to.
Right. That's the thing, though. Sometimes you think you got your opponent backed into a corner with their free peoples, and then, they drop Boromir, son of Denethor, and another 2 companions, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, now we got a real game again. So
Yeah.
it's always interesting.
Looks like Lorio has finished his game. He came into chat and he said, "Thanks for hosting the tourney, and thanks to Big N for the cool decks. Fun to play and very
Hey.
unsettling to hear you talk about my games from time to time."
Well, thanks for playing, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I love providing these new formats for people. So as long as people keep participating, I'll keep doing it. Okay, 4 minions.
Four
He's going to
minions,
see if
no
he,
Gothmog, but this is probably going to be enough to kill somebody even by itself. And then a
yeah,
Gothmog
I
being threatened on
imagine.
Site 9 would definitely...
Yeah, he's going to use the Mordor Pillager here to either control 2 more sites or make it so that Frodo and Sam are exhausted. And then, yeah, as long as he has a Gothmog in hand, it's over in terms of a shadow kill if he doubles. Even if he has some sort of trick to get through these 4 minions, which seems unlikely as well.
Well, I think that he should be okay if he puts the big one on the Forest Guardian. Oh, he might not be able to, though. If he, well, I mean, he's going to have to discard the cards, right? So he gets rid
Yeah, so
of You Must Help Us and Goblin Flankers. Oh,
that's interesting. So
interesting. That
he
would
probably
have,
did have a pretty big shadow hand there.
yeah, that actually would have that would have been quite the shock. Um, but so if he puts the big one on the Ent and then he puts the 5 on Sam, he ends up putting the 9 on Sam and leaving the 5. Okay, yeah. So
So
Frodo can toss the ring to Sam, so he's not going to die here.
yeah, someone will live, and then
But we do have the fierce pillager to deal with.
yeah, the fierce skirmish is going to be interesting here as well.
It's going to be worse for them if they lose the promise boost.
Yeah, I think you take the. Oh, that's not. I don't think that's the right order. I think you want to do the other one first. Take the burden, although it probably doesn't matter.
He does take the burden, and now he has to choose who he wants to be his ring bearer on Site 9. Um,
Yeah, no ability to double,
oh, well,
unfortunately.
there he
So
goes. So he managed to pull out Hobbit Intuition. Keeps them both. Says, I don't want to choose.
and now it feels
Now
like no
it's
matter which
6.
direction we go, it's a win probably for D Staley here.
Yeah, he can't double against 4 orcs here, and a single Gothmog will just slaughter them.
Yeah,
You have to risk the other way. Yeah, you have to try and get a shadow kill. Although this is there's a throw, and yeah, there's no way.
yeah, it's untouchable. It feels completely impossible.
Giant wall of meat. Oh, wait a minute. Where is my? I have a soundboard. Here we go. Oh, that's not quite the right meat.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Beautiful. Okay, yeah, that's all he can muster. 5 minions.
Oh wait, this is the one I should have played.
What is it? What do you smell? Man flesh.
Too many men. Too much men to get through.
Yeah, there's lots of man flesh out there, and they even brought a little dwarf along just to sacrifice him.
But yeah, had he doubled, yeah, Dustelli is saying here in chat that he made the right call. Yeah, but this savage, this absolutely massive savage.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see
That plus
if he
the
had
flankers
doubled.
that he had, it would
Right.
have been, and he wouldn't have had Thrarin. It would have been a lot
Yeah, and
closer.
it's possible Wingfoot has even more minions in hand too, and just doesn't have the Twilight on a single move to
Yeah,
play them all.
yeah, that's true.
But I think this is congratulations to D Staley for qualifying for the uh, Sealed Masters final tournament, which will be back in November later this year. Yeah, we now have he'll be the third person qualified, along with Domgam and Trista Lune, who won the first 2 leagues. So spots are starting to fill up, but there's going to be another 9 spots available to players. And yeah, I plan to come out with a video that's going to talk about the next format for the next tournament sometime. Well, I want to say in the next week, but I don't know because things are busy. But yeah, hopefully I can get a video out that'll talk about the next format very soon and get people excited about that. So once again, congratulations to D Staley.
And it looks like Staley might jump on stream here, and we can talk with him for a little bit.
Nice.
And just to clear up any confusion, the Sealed Masters is a separate tournament circuit from the World Championship, so both events are kind of going on simultaneously. But yeah, so we've got hopefully quite a lot of competitive stuff here in the future. Later in May, we will be having the very first tournament for the World Championship, and so that'll be a constructed event, and we'll have these sealed events that will continue running all through the year for the Sealed Masters finals.
Hello.
And it's Staley. Hey, you won. Congrats.
Yeah, barely. I was really scratching my head over that double move at the end. Whether or not
we were talking about it the whole time. We were, and in fact, when we saw that he discarded a Goblin Flankers from hand, I think you made the right call there. I think that he was holding on to a decent number of orcs that probably could have made you sweat for that last sight win. But the way that you did it definitely made sure that you had a wall of flesh that just wasn't going to be penetrated.
Yeah, exactly. When he let Faramir win against Gollum instead of discarding another card, I'm like, right, so you definitely have 4 minions in your hand.
Yeah.
Balance of probability, you'll probably draw 2 more. It's going to be 33 Twilight. So can you play the 6 plus minions in your hand and Shelob and Gollum off web? Yeah, I think so with that much Twilight. And like Turgon can take down 1 in the maneuver, but that's not going to be enough. And I only had 1 of the 2 dagger strikes at that point.
Yeah.
Did you have Gothmog in hand?
No, I didn't have Gothmog in hand. Even at the end here now, I don't. I had the card drawing guy in hand, which gave me a pretty high degree of confidence.
Yeah.
And I had the fierce guy in hand. So I'm like, right, and the warg in hand. So I had a pretty good feeling that at least there I'd be able to like have a decent chance of stopping him.
Yeah, for sure. I was sitting here on commentary saying I would double, and then you didn't, and I went, oh, I hope that doesn't hurt him. But yeah, you had a really nice shadow drop that was pretty difficult to combat from the Shelob side of things.
Yeah, exactly. And if he had played another companion, I would have gotten 1 more sight as well. I hadn't used more guy yet, so I mean, it worked out for me.
6. How many more sights do you need than 6 controlled? That's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you played really well in all your games, though. It was. Were you surprised to see as many Shelob decks out there?
I was, yeah, and I'm really surprised that I actually survived against Commandant when I like absolutely messed up at like.
Oh yeah, that's Site 4
4.
when it was Aragorn that died. Yeah, that was we were sure that was going to be a turn in the game.
Yeah, I was planning on losing 1 companion because I wanted to reset the threats and wound the Wraith on purpose so that the Wraith could potentially discard a card, but then I didn't think about the burdens turning into strength and undoing that.
Full strength, a full vitality Aragorn going down. Yeah, that was terrible. But then you got really lucky that Commandant was not able to get any of his Shelobs out. And
for a long time, and every time he did, he was like killing people off. But luckily, Dol Amroth really came in clutch for me there, barely surviving many times.
Yeah, that was a major like the other games that we watched of Commandant. He did a very good job of constantly keeping Shelob out there, like usually growing the strength so that he was a strength 35 monster by region 3. So so we were fully expecting to see the same thing there, and somehow they just never came together.
Yeah, there's a lot of 29 strength versus 15 strength. It was just like that one little tiny difference to keep the knight alive over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. I just kept doing the math. I'm like, right, how strong can he get? And like, how strong can I get? And like, which of these events should I use most tactically? Because sometimes they're +2, sometimes they're +4. It did work out well for me that, I forget the name of it, but the card that discards all roaming minions did take out a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that Guardian, yeah.
That was huge because it saved your Wraith as well.
Yeah, and it took out a bunch of minions that would have gone on the webs to make Shelob stronger.
Yeah, exactly. You got rid of 3 out of the 4 that were out there. That was massive.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a fun match. Yeah, I was actually surprised. The first game was almost the hardest. It was a bloodbath between like Morks and Gothmog. And when we did this as a league, I played the Morks deck and felt like it was on probably the weakest one, but I did it because I had some good Rohan draws. So it worked really, really well against me. And that one was just an absolute bloodbath all the way through, just companions falling left and right.
I think that might have been the only Mork player this particular tournament. Like there was only one person I think that went for it, and everybody else was either Shelob or Besiegers.
Yeah, Shelob or Gothmog. Yeah.
We had the one person playing Sauron. I think it
Okay.
was FNL Groove, but other than that, yeah, we saw a heavy dose of the two decks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was surprised I didn't see
Sauce
more of the
was
Sauron
playing
one, to
Sauron
be
as well.
honest.
What was that? Oh, Mock.
Oh.
Hey, you're here too.
of the
Hey,
Sauron
I
deck,
jumped in
sorry?
after it ended. Weak Sauce was playing Sauron as well.
Oh, okay.
He
Yeah,
ate
so
a
there was a
couple of
bit
my
more.
companions game one.
I find we were saying at the start that I think the Sauron deck is the weakest of the four, just because it's hard to get Sauron out on the field. Like you rarely get enough Twilight.
And if you do, he does as much damage as a Shelob here. So
Yeah,
what's the...
Well, his damage +2 makes him more dangerous than Shelob early.
yeah,
Sure,
definitely.
For sure.
Shelob can get to the point where she overwhelms anybody by sight 8 or 9, but Sauron can eat 2 people pretty much guaranteed whenever he gets dropped.
Yeah.
In a game like this, obviously in a constructed tournament, you have people who can deal with that. But
Yeah, how did you feel about your games, Mock?
yeah, they were great. I made one major deck building error that I didn't realize till game 3, and 2 play errors, one of which may have cost me a game, and the other one didn't. But I had a blast. This was so much fun. All of my
Yeah, I
games
wanted to
were
ask.
close. All of my opponents were great.
I wanted to ask a quick question. You decided to use the Sam that isn't overwhelmed
The
unless
nice
his strength is
sensible
tripled,
hobbit, yeah.
and yeah, instead of the
we
one that
came with it.
comes.
Yep.
Yeah, what was the decision there?
So I had 3 swords that he could grab, plus orc armor, and half the decks were going to be running orcs. So Sam, because I drew no other Hobbit companions, I did not have a Merry or a Pippin to add to them. The Great Elf Warrior was going to be stronger well, I didn't expect him to be winning either way. He was never going to be big enough to be a reliable winner. So Great Elf Warrior was going to be harder to overwhelm until I got a sword, and about equal if I'd got 2 promises. So a sword or both promises. But
Yeah, that's
I was
interesting.
playing so light that I thought it was likely to just be the stronger survivor.
Yeah, you might be correct there, because you're rarely going to win a skirmish with Sam where it's going to be relevant that you're actually going to kill a minion. So I thought the decision was really quite interesting, and I think you're probably correct in the analysis there.
Well, and with the deck as it is, it comes with 2 promises and a sword. So Sam's getting up to 7, 9 if he's Great Elf Warrior, which is still losing against most average minions in these decks.
Right.
There are 6, 7s, and 8s. Like, it's not like he wins against everything or loses against everything, but he's not winning enough that I was willing to let him get overwhelmed against a 18 Shelob instead of a 26 Shelob.
Yeah, definitely.
Had I drawn some Hobbit companions, I might have made a different choice, but I didn't have any.
And that is the interesting part about doing these limited events, right? Because your decisions come down to not what is optimal among all cards, but what is optimal among the cards that I happen to draw. So
Right.
that's
something that I really love about Sealed, is that it's its own unique environment every time, and so you can't just look at each deck individually in a vacuum and say, oh, this one's clearly the best. You have to look at how they're all going to interact against each other, and how are they going to interact in a mirror match, and what are the important like Twilight amounts I expect to see, or minion strengths, or companion strengths, or different things like that. And you really have to analyze all those things and then look at your pulls in that environment, instead of just, well, 8 is bigger than 9, so it's always going to be better. There's just different ways to look at it.
Yeah, the
Well,
polls.
and there's polls to be afraid
Go
of,
ahead.
right?
sorry. What was that?
Scenario
I was just going to say, for me, the polls definitely swayed the decision between the Sauron deck and the deck that I chose, the Gothmog deck. Basically, like mainly like getting the second siege troop and then getting Teeth of Mordor and getting the Knight Aragorn. I'm like, that
You
obviously
you
plays it
definitely
one way.
use that teeth to good effect through your games. Yeah, that
Yeah, that was huge. It really built up. One of the games set up the kill at the end there, where I managed to get Gothmog and the 9 strength fierce sight control guy, and the like cheaper when you control a sight guy all on there, which definitely helped. And yeah, getting the second siege troop was a nice surprise. I think a couple times people didn't expect the second one coming because they knew that there's only one in the
we
deck.
know the numbers. There's only one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
that
always
not
a nice
knowing.
trick.
what was that, Mark?
I was just gonna say, I think that not knowing what your opponent has pulled, especially when it's those things where it's like, okay, well, the deck came with one, so we've seen it.
Yeah,
Another one surprises you. In a tournament like this, where unlike lots of these, weren't passed out 2 Nkayas. If somebody pulled a shotgun Nkaya, it's going to be a huge kind of shift of the way you're dealing with this match.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good cards that aren't quite so. Oh my god, how did that happen? Seeing a strong Aragorn is a problem. Seeing, Sting in the deck that otherwise didn't have it is a problem. But they're not necessarily those massive shifts.
Yeah, I definitely just was playing like assuming no one pulled a shotgun NK. I'm like, whatever, take the burdens. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Go to 6 companions. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But if someone had got a shotgun NK, they could have very easily ruined my day.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that I like about this league is that you get one pack from everything in movie block essentially. So almost every card other than Reflections, obviously, is a potential card you could see, but is
Yeah.
still quite unlikely. And
Yeah.
the other thing that I made a really active decision on with the packs is to not give any booster selection options to anyone, that everyone just gets the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Not only is it faster for building your decks in a tournament like this, where you're not agonizing about, oh, maybe I should pick this one or that one, and analysis paralysis, but yeah, just the I think it gives players that are more in tune with the meta too much of an advantage to be able to choose their boosters. Whereas having everyone have the exact same amount puts everyone on a completely equal playing field. So,
and I think you make a very solid point too about the time constraints, because when you only have 30 minutes, if you spend 10 of those minutes thinking about which packs do I even open, then yeah, that becomes a huge issue. Whereas in leagues, of course, it's not nearly as big of an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't go in with a strategy for what you're opening, and if certain polls will change your mind, like you know what deck you're probably playing, and kind of pull based on that. But if you haven't done that, it can take forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely for these tournaments leaning away from decks with booster choices.
I would love to see when there's not a booster choice. When it's just you're gonna open these. I'd love to see a way of just one-click opening them.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of a delay between the click and the open, and sometimes I'm unsure, and I have in the past accidentally then double-clicked. Like I thought I didn't click it, and then I opened a second pack on top of it, which is fine if you didn't accidentally click your starter deck.
Yeah.
Well, no.
those at least you can always hit the escape key or the X button and back away when it's a selection pack like that.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So yeah, so that at least you don't have to worry about. But
yeah, the double click on the starter deck is tough though. If you click on
that's true
that and then you didn't think you clicked, and then you select your deck and you're like, okay, I guess I'm playing the Gothmog deck today.
Playing Iron Mode sealed, where even I don't get to pick anything. Just
yeah,
go with what I got. Well, while we're all here, let's take a look real quick at what we're going to be seeing in June, because that's when the next sealed tournament is going to be, right?
Yeah, we'll have a league in May and a league in June as well. So these aren't in order that we're scrolling through here, but I can give some insight into what we're going to be playing. Our next league is going to be the 9, which is going to be really intense. Basically, there's 9 free people selections that you can choose. So it's free people sides based around each of the 9 companions in the Fellowship. And then there's 9 shadow sides to choose from, and it's based around 9 different Nazgul. So it's going to be really quite intense. I'll do a nice breakdown video of all the different sides, hopefully, like I said, later this week, but it might be a little bit after, depending on if work allows me to have free time or not.
And let me actually
so
just
it's going
give
to be
just a little bit of a preview to that here.
Sure.
I'm going to slap
sounds
together a just on our test bed here. I'm going to go and show the kind of thing that he's talking about. So this should, because this is the 26th. Yeah, so you've got your your king site path that's going to be coming up. You've got the same sort of setup with the fixed boosters, but then if we go over to the starter selection, I'm just going to hop into the deck builder.
While you're getting this up going, I just want to voice how much I love the sealed leagues that come with a full site path.
Oh yeah.
it's
Being
nice.
able to just say, okay, I have all the sites, and I don't have to worry about drafting a site. Yeah,
Right. Like I didn't draft a single site today, so I just had whatever the deck came with.
Yeah, same.
Which was fine. But when we get those, it's a really nice kind of little bit of strategy you get added to it and not have to worry about.
So these are the ones that he was talking about. So there's going to be 2 different selectors, right? One that gives you free peoples, and I can close this to not get one, or one that goes with a shadow side. So
Yeah, and when I was building these decks, I figured people are going to naturally want to choose the Aragorn or the Boromir deck because Gondor is often the strongest thing that people get in their polls, and also they're already strong companions to begin with. So I also think a lot of people are going to want to pick the Witch King deck, and I made the Witch King deck quite strong against men specifically, which also kind of goes along with the lore. So it's going to be interesting to see what gets picked. I off the top of my head, I don't know all of them off by heart, so I won't talk too much about them now. But I
would
think
be so fascinated by a blind pick version of this.
we can make that happen in the future.
Because like
where you just don't know what they are, like
right, knowing nothing else, I want to play Boromir Lemenya.
Right.
I don't know what's in any of these cards, but I can just tell you, like, that's probably what I'm going to play in the league.
So that would definitely be interesting in a league situation. I feel like in a tournament situation, it would be little
really
less
hard.
Yeah, because then you're always going to think, was it because they happened to accidentally draw the best combination? And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people would get angry with me for sure.
Yeah. But in a league, hey, maybe you could just say, yeah, y'all just don't know nothing. Although, on the other hand, I feel like that could also incentivize somebody to go in with some alts and, do some stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I do have some other leagues that I've constructed that aren't for the Sealed Masters tournament. They're based on what happens with an anthology box, where you open up a box, you get, I think there's like 6 booster packs and a random starter deck, and I've set them up to also be random starter decks. So there will be stuff like that gets offered in the future. I'm interested to see what the community response is going to be, if people are going to be like, oh, I got the crappy Realms of the Elf Lord Boromir starter, so I didn't play, or if people are going to try to make it work with what they get.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. We got a bunch of stuff on the horizon here for the Sealed Masters. We've got all those slots that we talked about. People are going to be able to earn their way to the Sealed Masters finals in November, I think you said.
Yep.
So, and then starting at like I mentioned earlier in the stream, later in May, we're going to have we're going to be having the first of the World Championship circuit tournaments. So we're going to have so many events, it seems, that people will be able to hop into, both the sealed and constructed, as a build up towards both.
That one is on
World
May 10th for
May
anyone
10th.
marking their calendars.
May 10th. So that is in
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 Saturdays from now. And
in between, we've got the IRL European Championships in Prague.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when is that one happening?
Nice.
The 2nd. So
the 2nd.
Yeah, Balrog and I are going. Sorry, the 3rd. Balrog and I are going up for that, and Baz is coming down for that. So it should be a fun time to meet some of the European community in person.
Well, I'm glad that we didn't accidentally stomp on that with scheduling. But that's a busy 3 weekends for anyone involved in that.
Yeah.
I paid attention to Nelson's leagues. I didn't think about the Prague event.
Well, I appreciate that. On that note, though, I gotta step out here and start parenting again. So I will talk to all you guys later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you for setting this up.
Thanks, Nelson.
Thanks, guys, and congratulations to you, Staley. Well played.
Thank you. It was a fun one. I've got to run as well. Time to make some dinner as it's getting later here in Europe. So I will catch you all on the flip side.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll go ahead and wrap up the stream here. So I'm going to be back streaming on the 10th for the event that we're going to be doing there. So any of you who are listening, any of the Players Council, you're of course more than welcome to hop on.
I'll definitely join you for that if you don't mind. I'm hosting those ones, so I don't feel like I should play, but I want to be part of them.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly what Nelson was doing here for the sealed stuff. So he was offering his expert opinion on that, and then we'll have you running the event, and I can help run the stream, and then I think that'll be perfect. Get the commentary that everyone's looking for, and I really love doing these streams. I love just talking with everybody and speculating and heckling the players, and it's a good time. Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and wrap up the stream here.
See you and Nelson hopping into the games as spectators. It's always like, oh wait, am I on stream right now?
You are on stream, yes. All right, let's go ahead and end the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody.